Hello, Joette.
Hey, Andrew.
How you doing?
I'm gonna be better once this white vermouth and wild turkey kicks in. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I've got the same thing that you're drinking.
What do you think about it?
I think it's really good.
Kicking the Monday night off, huh?
Yeah, it's a Monday night, but we usually do these on Fridays or Saturdays, but sometimes we also get drunk on Mondays.
I'm gonna try not to get drunk on Monday, but let's see where this goes. Let's see where did you write a special
Did I write?
Robin? did you write a Robin
I literally
Carmen song?
practiced this like 30 minutes ago?
All right, but you could freestyle something.
I
And
can't sing. Well,
I heard Carmen's a singer.
Is Carmen a singer? What about Rob? He does backup vocals.
You guys do karaoke.
We have a recording session this evening, actually.
Yeah, we're about to drop our first single.
Your first single.
About to
Watch
drop
out,
our
Beyonce.
So Carmen sings and Rob does the backup dancing?
Totally.
Rob
doesn't dance.
programs beats.
Progress beats.
Oh man,
Love
Rob
it.
is an amazing musician.
Really?
Yes.
Pass that guitar over. I think we should like.
Undergraduate
switch
degree from Berklee College of Music and Bass Performance.
this. Ooh.
Oh snap!
Ooh.
Fancy. He's fancy.
Super fancy.
Well, people, welcome to episode number 50 plus 151. I messed that up on Instagram and called it episode 50, but we're one away from our initial goal of 52 episodes, one per week. And we're going to keep rolling after that. Welcome to episode 51. Andrew's going to drop the freestyle right. No, he's not. Taught him everything he knows.
Welcome to the Colombia Podcast, episode 51. My name is Andrew Messia.
I'm Joel Duncan.
Rob Pevitts.
Carmen Ángel.
Carmen.
Or Carmen Angel.
Carmen Angel.
Angel.
Nah, I like Carmen Ángel.
Carmen.
Carmen Ángel.
Carmen San Diego.
It sounds like a
Never heard that
Colombian
before.
soap opera name. Carmen Ángel.
Yeah.
¿Por qué dijiste eso?
No, she's more of a backhand kind of.
Oh, she's the backhand. All right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Shut up.
Chata.
Chata.
Chata. Yeah, so we're on episode 51. We made a promise that we would do 52 episodes, and we're nearing on the 52nd.
Yeah.
Today's a special podcast because we usually do them on the weekend because we like to kind of get drunk and a little sloppy and a little vulgar.
Yep.
But today we're going to be very, very uptight and
I will very tight
No,
now.
I'll take off.
I'm
I got
hoping
you.
for drunk, sloppy, and vulgar.
Yeah. That's why we wore some really tight underwear. Make sure we stay,
we're
erect.
stiff. So
I was told to sit erect. That's
Yeah,
right. Otherwise,
that's-
I'd be like this.
you got to
The
sit
coach
erect.
over there.
That's what
Coach.
she said. So we are talking about restaurateuring in Colombia.
Is that the right way to say it?
I don't know if it's the right
ask
way.
them, or are we just gonna make up words?
No, that's my made-up intro.
That's the correct word.
Restaurateuring in Colombia. So
Restaurateur it works for
Yeah,
me.
you guys are restaurateurs.
We would be considered restaurateurs,
Yes.
chefs.
Yeah.
Restaurant.
and chefs.
Yes.
All right. This is pretty exciting because it's a famous restaurant, and I've never met Carmen or Rob.
So let me give a little bit of background, just at least from my perspective about. So I never even knew that these guys had opened a slew of restaurants here and elsewhere, and I didn't even actually know the number. For me, Carmen is that restaurant. Again, I never knew about Carmen in 2011 when I came here. I just passed it and I was like, wow, that's fancy. But I'd never eaten there, and I'd always pass there, and I thought, you know what? Back then, when I was backpacking and I'd say struggling, to put it lightly, I'd pass there and I think, one day when I have a girlfriend that really deserves this, because you can't just move. There's Menú
You
del Dia
can't.
being sold for 8,000.
Menú del
Yeah.
Dia. You take a girl to a
But wait,
Menú
hold
del
on.
Dia.
I would be. If I was that girl, I'd be like, ciao.
Almuerzo de
Also,
Jequetío.
like, this great girl's taking me to a Menú del Dia.
There's like all the the drivers are like sitting around.
Yeah.
I'm with them. I'm with them with my date. No, but what I'm saying is you can't just upgrade first date, go to Carmen. You got to be a few days
Well,
in.
you're setting the bar pretty.
Pretty
Can
high.
we swear on this show?
Whatever the fuck you want to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're setting the bar pretty fucking high.
If you take
a
Gar-
girl.
to Carmen
Ask
on the
Patrick,
first
it's
date.
happened a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Not
You're
where do you
setting
take
the
her
bar
after?
very high.
Where the hell do you take her after, other than home? Oh my God!
Whatever
Sushi
Woo!
Bar.
The bourbon's kicking in. No, but basically, we lived right up there, up the hill, and we passed there every day, and I'd look at it and I'd keep saying, one day, one day, one day. And if any one of you guys, I don't know where you stand online right now in the online game, but anybody who was visiting Medellin, at least for the first, I'd say between 2011 when I used to check, to about 2017 at least, if you put best restaurants in Medellin or anything about restaurants in Medellin, the two that I knew that would always pop up were Carmen and El Cielo. It would be Carmen and El Cielo. And it would be like about as to which one to go to. You know, if you got limited budget, you go to the one, whatever it is. And that's really what I knew, that there was really good food. It was really nice inside. And I only ate food from there, from any of your restaurants during the pandemic. And we'll get to that a little later. So for me, it's like, this is one of the restaurants to me, like the landmark restaurants in the city, started by, as far as I know, foreigners. So it's really amazing that foreigners came here, and we'll get to that story about when you guys came here and stuff like that, and now have one of the restaurants or a few restaurants that are considered like the shit in the city. And that's my background on Carmen. What's your background on Carmen?
Yeah, same thing. Actually, I remember going by there one time, and Tom Cruise was there.
Was he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Was it a stunt double, like a
No,
stunt
it
double?
It actually wasn't. I did so much research.
was
on
actually
that.
Tom
It actually
Cruise.
wasn't.
Yeah, he was easily identifiable.
Well,
or...
there was a bit of bitterness because he hadn't gone to other restaurants, and so there was like someone that said that it wasn't him. But I did this research about his middle tooth, and
Okay.
it was him.
What?
What about Tom?
Very,
Something
very
to Google,
identifiable,
everybody.
man.
Tom Cruise's middle tooth. Yeah.
Okay.
What,
all
what
right.
about it though? I'm interested.
So, most people have two front teeth like this,
Yeah.
and he just kind of has one center tooth.
Oh, okay. So he
Tom
was.
Cruise has a center. This
The
podcast
things you
is over.
fucking learn,
Yeah.
man.
Factoids.
Yeah.
Important factoids.
Yeah.
Are like,
this I've got all I needed to gain
Patrick's
from
Googling
this.
it right now.
Yeah, so I was, so I passed by and I was like, holy shit, Tom Cruise in there. And obviously I knew what Carmen was before, but actually one of my favorite restaurants to go to back in the day was Humo.
Yeah.
I used to love going to
Oh, we
Humo.
loved Humo, man.
Oh, that's where I know you from.
Yeah, because we used to do language exchanges and
Yeah.
also like meetups from, like the...
Were you in Medellin living at all, or?
Yeah, Medellin Living.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
I used to
you
write
from
for Dave.
Yeah, that's
when-
why. That's how I
Nice.
know.
Yeah, so that's...
I never forget a face.
Yeah, so, and they had, you guys had these amazing shots that were like smoke coming out of them from dry ice and stuff, and I thought that was
liquid
super cool.
nitrogen.
Yeah, liquid nitrogen. So so that's kind of my backstory. I was like, and then I heard that the owner, her name is actually Carmen from Carmen, that opened up Humo, and she's from San Diego. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
But why does no one ever talk about Rob? I don't get it.
I'm Mr. Carmen.
I say-
I'll have
I mean-
another Manhattan.
I mean, like Patrick was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to Rob." I'm like, "No, talk to Carmen." Who
I'm
the fuck's
surprised
Rob?
I
What's
got
a Rob?
invited here today.
Yeah.
I'm shocked I'm even here. Like, this microphone should be yours, and I should just be like.
Yeah. Mr. Carmen, all right, Mr. Carmen.
Mr. Carmen.
So
I have been called Mr. Carmen, and my father-in-law is El Papa de Carmen.
Wow. That got him.
All right, well, can I defend myself in front
please,
of you?
please,
Please
Lovely
defend it.
fellows.
yeah.
So when we were going to open the restaurant here in 2009,
Okay.
we had a great concept, which is to call it 16. We were going to have 16 dishes.
Ooh.
And that was our idea until one of our friends
Maybe
said,
it wasn't that great of
hey,
a concept either.
maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Said, just call it Carmen. It's a great name.
Yeah.
Personalizes the place. And I said, no, please, no. Well, who were the people that voted for it to be named Carmen?
Mr. Carmen.
Mr. Carmen and
Carmen's
Papa de
father.
Carmen
So
Oh, okay.
really the responsibility is upon them.
is on us.
But I think it's great. It's a
But
great
I think
name
that's a
because-
good name.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it works
pronounced in
perfectly.
English and
It's
Spanish,
memorable.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bit of an R roll.
It's
Yeah.
not
One
one of those
word.
names where you're like
Yeah.
Diana or
Yeah.
Diana.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a...
It's
Or like Scott.
Escort.
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 Escort. Scorch.
Esti.
We've heard all of that. And Sean, even worse.
Chan. Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah, Sean. Our friend Sean from Hija Mia, he's the owner of that cafe, and his name is Sean. And for Colombians, we've
It's
heard
impossible.
He's got like 10 different names. So his barber calls him Johnson.
Johnson.
First.
Johnson. Seriously, Johnson and Sean. Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Sean is never the actual name they use.
Chung.
Chung.
Chung,
Oh, yeah,
he's
Chung.
got Chung, he's got
Chung.
everything. So Carmen's a great name. I think Carmen Yeah, straight
That's
to
a
the point.
beautiful name.
It's a
I do
beautiful
love my
No,
name.
we haven't looked back on it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
No, never.
Okay.
Sounds like
Never,
a good
baby.
start.
Come on.
So 2009. So that-
2009.
2009.
So you guys have
Yeah.
been.
So when you guys were walking by 2011, we had 2 years, which were 2 very challenging years.
Very challenging.
Okay. So we're gonna come to that.
Yeah, let's
We're gonna
come to that.
Step back. Let's step back.
back.
Step back.
Take
Okay,
it
okay.
Yeah.
Take it back.
So let me ask you guys. So you are from San Diego,
Yeah.
California.
My dad is Colombian,
Oh,
and
okay.
my mom is Hungarian.
Oh, okay.
Your
so you,
dad is that's cheating.
Colombian
I'm
and
gonna take back
Hungarian.
my first statement about these 2 foreigners coming. Blah blah blah.
So
So
when I-
like, you got
I-
assistants. You think performance enhancing drugs? Like you're not like you're not like the real deal like Mr. Carmen, who's right.
Where are you
pure
from?
Gringo?
Pure Gringo,
He's like
Kentucky.
Southern.
Lived in San Francisco for a long time.
Okay.
okay.
Eastern European as well. Czech background.
Okay. Nice.
And you guys met obviously over there or here?
We met at culinary school
in
at
San Francisco.
Le Cordon Bleu in SF.
Oh wow. Okay. So you guys met there and obviously came here together in 2009.
Yeah,
What
2008,
prompted
yeah.
2008? What prompted that decision to come to Colombia?
Alcohol.
That's
Were you
all.
guys at this party?
No. Father-in-law. My father-in-law, Diego, who's entrepreneur, genius, business guy, has always been in creative businesses. He had one of the biggest independent,
the
biggest
Yeah.
independent animation and video game studio in the United States at one time.
Wow.
He was visiting.
Is this the Colombian?
This is a
This is
Colombian,
Colombian.
but
Yeah.
he lived in the States.
Awesome.
He lived in the States for 35 years. So he's.
But he migrated.
What's the name of the studio?
Angel Studios.
Angel Studios, which became Rockstar
Angel
West.
Studios, which became
Wow,
Rockstar
Rockstar
West. They
West.
sold to the whole.
Yeah,
Because Angel Studios is actually.
yeah.
Is it what?
It's a porn thing called. But anyways, I'm not gonna get into that because I don't know much about it.
he probably was
Sure.
involved in that as
Yeah,
well.
so it's called, I know Angel. Okay,
He was probably
Patrick
involved
knows
in
what I'm
that as
talking
well.
about. He was over there giggling. He's like Angel Studio. Yeah, so he was so the
He was
Colombian guy.
he was the catalyst
Okay.
for this because Carmen and I had graduated from culinary school, and we had been working in restaurants in San Francisco for about 3 years, doing our thing. And Diego came to visit, and we were out to lunch one day, talking about, hey, hopes and dreams. What do you guys want to do with your lives? You want to keep working in restaurants? Like, what are your angles?
I think it's anybody's dream who goes to culinary school to have your own restaurant.
restaurant.
That's
Yeah,
like the,
well, that's where I'm going. But after bottle
Yeah.
number 4, he asked us. Bottle number 4 of wine, he asked us. He's like, all right, well,
wine. We were drinking tequila.
we were drinking wine first. You never remember this because
Wow.
all you remember
That
is
was
the
a big
tequila
night.
after.
What is it? Liquor before beer or in the
Yeah.
clear?
Clear.
And wine is just fucked with everything.
Liquor,
Wine fucks
never
with
been
everything.
sick or
Never
something.
been sicker.
And
yeah.
wine fucks with everything.
So-
And wine is just
Wine
fucked with
fucks
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good T-shirt. Gotta get one.
Anyway.
Oh, that is a good T-shirt.
Wine
It is a
fucks
good.
with
Hey, we
everything.
should do that.
So he says. So
And
he
then on the
says.
back
what
He
do you
says,
guys
hey,
wanna do?
all right, after this, this is a 2-hour, 3-hour lunch conversation. He's like, okay, you guys want to open a restaurant? I will help you open a restaurant.
Okay.
So we get all excited, and especially me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, Diego, there's an area in San Francisco called the Richmond. And at that time, this is 12 years ago, and then there was nothing in the fucking Richmond.
Yeah.
It was
Pre-gentrification.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
pre-gentrification, so it's a primarily
Well,
Asian neighborhood.
Richmond was very Asian neighborhood.
It was a very Asian neighborhood, so there's not a lot of restaurants like
Yeah.
there are today.
But I mean, a lot of
There were a
from
lot
the
of
city,
there
we'd
were a lot
always
of
go to the
restaurants,
Richmond to eat.
but I mean,
Burma
we always went to
Superstar.
Burma Superstar.
Yeah.
But and he's like, no, huevón in Medellin.
Oh.
And
This was the next day in the hangover.
no. This is that day, Carmen.
Wow.
Wait, this
What?
is
We
this
didn't-
is
This
like
is the
your-
same
wait, this
day,
is-
man.
this
Carmen
is what
just
I
doesn't
love-
remember.
This is what I love about it.
He's
Have
like-
you guys
he's
had
like-
this
he's-
discussion
It's the
before?
fundamental story. and you remember it two
Mr.
different
Carmen
ways.
remembers
But you've
well.
been telling this. We've been
Yeah,
telling this story.
and-
Okay, wait a second.
And-
Who's
and-
more
and
responsible?
Who can drink more?
Who? Okay,
No, who
good.
can drink
Yes,
more?
that's
Who has a much
but
higher
I swear to
tolerance?
God, the next day.
Let's talk about tolerance.
Carmen gives backhand, so I don't know.
Carmen backhanded me in Death and Company. Well, we can talk about that in New York. Ask me
I
about
wanna
that
hear about
later.
the backhand.
Ask me about the backhand in Death and Company in New York later.
Yeah.
Anyway, Diego, this is how we're going to tell the story today.
Okay.
Diego's
because you've
like,
been telling it different for like the last decade, but sure.
never.
Well, I'm
I
rolling
always
with it.
tell the same damn thing.
Okay.
Anyway, that's how it is when you work and you're married. Diego says, no huevón in Medellin. And I'm like, what's huevón?
Yeah.
Um,
Waving. Yeah.
and, you know, he's like, we're going to open a restaurant in Medellin. Like, the time is right.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot going on in Medellin, and Medellin's going to explode. He knew, I think, in his mind, in his entrepreneurial mind.
He always knew timing.
He always knew timing. He's
He
like
knew
a
when
people
to
person.
switch. He did like this Stephen King movie, and like all his business partners wanted to go into like cybersex and like 3D animation,
Yeah.
and
Virtual
he just
reality.
knew virtual reality, and he just knew to kind of take the
Everything into video
to take
games.
everything towards video games, which
Okay.
resulted. So he just, I don't know, he's
You
just
know,
has a business sense.
he has
about
that innate sense of
Yeah.
everything.
Acumen, business acumen.
That's amazing.
Very
it.
good.
Intuition.
Yeah.
And so we were drunk, and we said, fuck it. We ordered another bottle of wine. Actually, I think we ordered a bottle of cava.
Yeah.
And we said yes. And the next thing you know, we're out dancing. I don't dance. Carmen dances. Diego dances. And we're fucking out dancing salsa at some fucking club in San Francisco,
Yeah.
drinking bottles of tequila.
Yeah.
Don Julio, 1942. I remember that
very
really.
nice.
I remember that
Really
really
nice.
well.
That's nice.
And the next day, Carmen and I
After
wake up.
wine, not so much.
Not so much. Carmen and I wake up with like the hangover of our life. Did we say we were gonna move to Medellin?
But wait, you guys have been to Medellin before? Or is this just like,
yeah.
okay,
did.
okay.
I had been
But obviously,
3
after
times
that,
at that time.
we came to visit with very different eyes. You know,
Yeah.
looking at it as like, okay, can we live here? Can we have a business here? What would our business be like here?
And your dad is from Medellin, or where is he from?
So
Originally.
he's from Paisa family,
Okay.
but he was born and raised in Tuluá, which is about an hour outside of Cali. Valle.
Yeah.
But he
Okay.
came to Medellin at 12.
Yeah, but he
12,
moved here like
13.
at 10, 11, and you know, grew up in El Centro, in Barrio
Carmen,
Uni.
I gotta tell you something. I just gotta get it out of the way. I'm sort of like disappointed.
Oh, you thought I was
'Cause,
like straight up gringa?
Because I'm like, how could she have such an impressively Colombian accent and vocabulary? I mean, I'm like, I feel like I've been putting in the work over the years to learn this language.
9 years.
She came in and she's over here talking to Felipe, and I'm like, why does she sound native to this space? And so,
I wasn't when I moved here. It makes you feel any better.
but you spoke
Like
to your dad in Spanish?
No. So
Growing
during
up, yeah.
childhood, it was we'd always get Spanish, and
Yeah.
we were always listening, and
So you're
we
listening,
would
yeah.
and we would speak. We would respond in
Yeah.
English.
Oh, okay.
And at some point, my sister had like language problems, and so they said don't speak to the kids in Spanish at the house. So there was like kind of this weird. But when I moved here, I had a very thick accent.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me a while to get rid of that.
Well, it's sort of like, yeah, I mean, okay. Good. But
Yeah.
good on you. Your Spanish is great.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
so's Rob's own.
So-
So, having a conversation with Rob is like,
I came here and I
He didn't speak anything.
speak anything.
Zero.
No, zero.
Nothing.
Wow.
Ni culo de nada.
Ni culo de nada.
I had
great.
a conversation with Rob briefly on the telephone, and he literally could not remember a lot of English words. I noticed that, and he's like, he'd substitute them for Spanish words, and that's how I know when you're fully like
Yeah.
immersed.
No,
in
well,
the-
it's
Oh,
our.
we're fluent in
it's,
Spanish.
Or he was drunk.
Fluent.
No, it's our no. Well, that
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
no, actually, I was sober, but that's our business. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, talking to the guys in the kitchen for
All
now
day.
like 11 and a half years.
Oh,
it's
but
like
Spanglish is our jam.
Spanglish is. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom and
Yeah.
dad come to visit and they look at me and Carmen like, what the fuck? Did you
Yeah,
just
what do you guys used to I thought Blueberry was your jam.
Oh, that is too. But
Yeah. So a lot of. So we got a lot of
I was
questions.
good. I was
All right, yeah.
We got a lot of questions
Bad
coming
jokes.
in. Obviously, we're going to get to the whole COVID situation and the restaurant thing in
Yeah.
here in a few moments.
Oh,
but I
God.
still got to get to know a little bit about you guys. A lot of people ask if Joel and I are in a couple, and he broke my heart and said no to me. So we are not a couple.
If you go out on a few
But he
dates.
plays such
Yeah.
great music.
Just because
Not for me.
Just because we kiss every now and then doesn't mean we're a couple. All right?
I love how you're like, just because we're with like these like high-end people, you use the word kiss. Usually you say make out.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No. Just.
Talk about it for real.
So anyway, what is your relationship
My relationship.
between each other? You guys
We
are a couple.
are business partners, and we are relationship partners. Is
How
that
long has the
Relationship
relationship been going?
partners.
Partnership. How long is
You're gonna leave.
Wait.
All right. So wait. Let me ask a question. She's not gonna say we're married now.
No, I know.
We are relationship.
We're actually married.
That's it.
This is because she
My
feels
Spanish
guilty.
is getting in
This
the
is
way.
because she feels guilty because she forgot our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh.
Shit, Carmen.
But it's okay. I
this
don't.
the backhand came in somewhere?
I do not blame her whatsoever.
No,
Yeah.
that's when
Because
I
it
got
was
the
like a
backhand.
crazy week.
Yeah.
She was doing a live brunch for like 100 people on that Saturday. And
Yeah.
of course, I didn't remember till 2 days before anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like hold
Yeah,
myself
come
like.
on. You ordered
like-
it, work it off Rappi.
Yeah, that's true too. Hey, let's talk about the dinner I
Hey, wait.
organized.
By the way,
Okay.
Let's
not-
talk about the
We're going
dinner
off
I
topic.
organized.
Andrew, your question was.
Wait, we're not going off topic because you guys jumped on me when I talked about a little menu del dia. This guy's ordering a 10-year anniversary present off of Rappi.
What else
from
was I
Orchid.
supposed
So
to
what's
do?
worse?
But
You know
hey,
what I'm saying?
hey,
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, but
Sure,
let's
totally.
Yeah.
talk about the dinner I
Okay.
organized
Let's
too.
talk about
I mean,
the
come
dinner.
on, man.
Let's
I
talk
did
about
the
it.
You
show.
organize a nice.
I did the show
Oh.
right.
We have a very special relationship where we are life partners,
Okay.
and at the same time we are business partners,
Which is
which
complicated.
which is very complicated, is very complex.
Why is that?
Because you're making all of these really important business decisions, and we're very different people, and we think very differently, and then you always end up bringing that home somehow.
Yeah.
So it's always going to affect
The difference,
personal
the
relationship.
difference in the business relationship that makes a successful business, because like, all right, 95% of the time, Diego, like we're a family
you guys
business.
Are getting in deep real
Diego and I agree on
to
everything
just-
95% of the time.
Yeah.
But then there's Carmen going, hey, fuck you guys, you're wrong. You need to do it this way. Hey, fuck you guys, you need to listen to me. You need to consider this fact and this fact. So it's like a really good balance
It
for.
is a good dynamic.
Carmen
It's
was a problem child.
Yeah, it's a
No,
really
I was
good
an
balance
angel.
for
That
us.
is a good-
It's,
good
it's
balance.
a really good
That is a
balance
good
No,
for us.
I was not a problem
But
child.
Carmen and I have been together for 15 years, and we have been married for 10.
Okay.
And we have had Carmen Medellin,
We've had
our
6 babies.
baby.
We've had 6 babies.
We've had 6
and
babies,
145.
and the first baby is now 11 years old.
Okay.
And at one time we had 145 kids. But
Yeah.
COVID has
Yeah.
dropped that number
We're gonna get to
significantly.
that.
So you came down here, and obviously the aim was to open a restaurant. So, what was that process like? Opening, from the very beginning. Was it easy? Was it hard?
Rob at zero Spanish. Carmen sort of, doing her thing.
No,
trying to-
Carmen spoke fluently. She just had an
I
accent.
just had an
Oh, so
Oh,
you knew.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
but
speak-
me,
But still.
me zero.
But the jokes, the slang, we
Yeah,
would go out with my
No,
dad's
no,
friends,
no.
and like everyone would all of a sudden be busting up laughing. Rob would be like, "What are they laughing about?" I'm like, "Honey, I have no fucking clue."
what
Like
they're- yeah.
the slang, I mean, and the way that people talk here, the sayings, the it's very hard to adjust to another culture.
I know.
Even
Yeah.
if it's a culture, I grew up coming here for vacation, and I have family here, but when you live and socially, it becomes challenging.
It was difficult. I mean, fuck. I just listened for like the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Like I never
And you had to like.
I never really studied formally. I had a tutor for like the first 4 weeks we were here. He taught me a bunch of grammatical things.
Okay.
I speak German, or at one time I spoke German. I like replaced all my German with Spanish. So I knew what it was like to learn another language. So
Yeah.
like when I got that syntax and like the grammatical, but like I mean, there was like a point like 4 years ago even. Like after I considered myself very fluent, like my accent is very pronounced, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like, and I was talking to my father-in-law, Diego, and I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna go to AFE and study with like an accent coach.
Yeah.
Because I want to get rid of it. And he's like, no fucking way, man. That's like one of the best things I had in business was my
Your
fucking
bread and butter.
accent.
Wow, I
It's
like that.
charming.
Yes.
It's charming. You fucking keep your accent, man.
like
People
that.
Great stories
peop-
about
peop-
how
people
his
under-
accent paid off with all
people
of his
understand
negotiations with Nintendo and
Yeah.
just
amazing.
slow down and don't talk so fast. And so I never did anything
That's
about
great.
it.
That's really good.
But-
That's
Yeah.
really good
But
advice.
And
it
imagine,
was
like-
it was like learning by ear, man.
Imagine that we speak Spanish. I speak fluently. You speak it really well, and we had a hard time opening up business, going to Cámara de Comercio,
Oh my God.
getting
Yeah.
an accountant.
that was so
Oh
hard.
God,
Cobrando renta,
reading
That was
bullshit.
the hardest part. Was like kind of like figuring out all of that the administrative, like kind of like tedious part of everything, that was challenging.
No, and reading legal briefs.
And also like looking for
contracts.
spaces. We had designs for like 2 different spaces before we actually found the house where Carmen is now.
Yeah.
And when we did find that house, we kind of walked in.
We
It's
knew.
rented. But when we walked in, we're just like, this is it. Like you just feel it. Like you just like my skin felt
knew
it.
it.
I got
Yeah.
like chills. I'm like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it. And sometimes when I'm like drunk at the restaurant, I'll walk through the restaurant like empty at the end of the night, and it has such a powerful energy.
Yeah, or you walk through right now and you see it the way it is, and you're like,
And you can
tear
feel
up and
that,
you're like,
and
what
you
the
can feel
fuck?
that it's really missing.
It's missing.
yeah, it's missing
It's-
it's
That
missing
love.
its people,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
missing its people.
Yeah, it's ghost town.
Yeah.
For some of the people that are watching, the restaurant's located, well, Carmen is located at very close to Parque Lleras on Carrera 36, is it? Right?
Yeah, but we're kind of like, the cool thing is we're really close to Parque Lleras, but we're kind of like offset from
Yeah,
the whole.
it's like on the other side
Yeah.
of the Calle 10.
So
Yeah.
we're right kind of like below Vizcaya, and we're like kind of diagonal from the Hotel 10. Right on like the 10
Crepes
the
and
10A
waffles on the
coming down
36.
and the
Yeah,
36.
that's right.
Did you need help finding the location, like from a local real estate agent, or did you just walk around?
It was a walk around
Yeah.
because
We
our
were looking at something around the corner.
No, we had something around the
And it fell
corner,
through.
and it fell
Yeah.
through because the building permits fell through. It was on the
The
DS
liquor
Bay.
permit.
Okay.
And
Yes,
our
right.
architect's office literally is in a building called the Double L, which is literally right next to Carmen, and it's the building between what is now Moshi and Don Diablo and Carmen. And his office at that time was there. And I was in exile with a bit of a visa problem, and Carmen and Diego walked by the building one day after meeting with Juan Manuel after our first lease fell through in the Diaz Bay, and they saw the for rent sign.
Yeah.
And we had always walked by that locale, and we had been in it, all of us,
Yeah.
and we had seen it. And what Carmen said, it has this just magnetic energy. It's obviously about twice as big as anything we had ever imagined opening, especially in Medellin.
But the thing is that area,
way bigger.
that area has, I mean, I think in business and real estate and everything is sort of like what you said your dad is sort of seeing, a year,
Visionary.
5, 10, having that vision. And as far as I remember, because we used to live up that hill and walk by there every time. You guys were the only thing there. There was no
Yeah, there was nothing
social at
else
the corner.
going
There
on.
was none of the other little restaurants. It was just like
It was
you come down-
residential.
exactly,
Yeah,
very
it was
residential.
mostly
And you
residential.
pass this really elegant looking place, and you're like, when I upgrade from the Menu del Dia, I'll go there one day. and then you keep passing by, and then slowly other people came around. But you guys are basically, other than, I remember when I came here, that building at the corner, right at the corner, the office building or whatever it is now, was under construction. And there was just Tiger Hostel or Tiger Paw Hostel
Yeah,
and the
Tiger
Crips
Paw.
there. Those were the three. Tiger Paw, the little
Crips.
Crips, and the little, which is now a much bigger hairdressing
Yeah,
salon.
the
thing
peluqueria
that
was
opened up.
there.
That's what it was up that street.
And around the other corner, there was like a little like fish shop, and
Fish shop.
yeah, it
Up
was
the
like
hill.
Montmar,
around the
going
corner.
down
It
the
was a
Diaz
spot
Bay.
called Montmar. They
Yeah.
like brought
And-
in.
And
Okay.
then Amelia.
I
the
worked right across from
fondue
where now
place
is
was always there as well.
the Click Clack.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then there was like another place across the way that like had sandwiches and stuff.
And you're
that's
talking
it.
about 2008 though. I was
Yeah.
that I'm talking about 2011. I came here in 2011.
Oh, yeah.
I think
It was
you
still
were
like
2010,
that. It was
yeah.
still like that.
Yeah, it was still pretty much like that. So the another question, I guess, for anybody watching that doesn't know what Carmen is, how would you describe your dining? What kind of dining is it?
We call it casual fine dining. I think that we are very proud of the fact that you can go to Carmen. I mean, it's not a cheap price point in pesos, but if you're coming from New York or you're coming from the US or Europe, the food and the quality of food that you're getting at Carmen and the quality of service you're getting at Carmen is, I mean, unreal for what you're paying. But we always have had a very chill atmosphere. We've always played really fun music. Rob has been our DJ from day one. He's very musically inclined. And so we've always had a little bit of salsa, and we have hip hop, and we, put a little bit of electronic. And we've always had a very dynamic, fun, kind of loudish playlist.
Yeah.
So much so that some people are like, I can't believe you're playing reggaeton in this kind of a restaurant. We're like, I don't know what kind of a restaurant you think this is, but this is what we are. And we don't have a dress code either. We've never been that restaurant that's like, oh, sorry, sir, you can't come in because you're wearing shorts.
Yeah.
So
That's the California
you need to,
thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's casual fine dining. You're having really amazing food with amazing local product. We've committed to working with the best Colombian product that we can find.
I mean, we've
but
always
we don't have like all like the kind of like the
bougie shit that goes with it. Yeah.
We've always considered ourselves ingredient-based cuisine.
Okay.
So if you want to call it contemporary Colombian cuisine, whatever you want to call it, but it's ingredient-driven cuisine. And we've spent the last 11 years looking for the best possible ingredients in Colombia, working with the smallest producers that we can find, working with one person that will sell us this, one person that will sell us that. I mean, and working closely with them, going to get to know them in their place, where they're growing or where they're fishing or where they're doing everything. Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason of the success. And that's been part of the big evolution of our brand, not only Carmen Medellin, but all of the other restaurants, is that we have an amazingly dedicated team as well. I mean, we have people that, started as practicantes, Sebastian, Marin, and Mateo Rios, that are the executive chefs of the group today. They're about to retire me. Not now, because I've gone back to cooking like full time, but not that I was only cooking 4 days before, so whatever. But those guys, with Carmen and myself, we've been like really, really, really conscious of sourcing the best possible ingredients. And that's something that Carmen and I came from California with.
Yeah.
And that's a very California thing.
It's like the slow food movement. It's like, for me, Alice Waters was a big inspiration. It's like, know where you get your stuff, know what's in season. But I think that gastronomically, like culinarily speaking, that we're serving really, really well executed, very kind of like top-notch cuisine. But it doesn't go along with that ambience that you always think of when you're like at like a super fancy place where like if you laugh really loud, you're gonna look around like, oh, we like our music a little bit loud. We want you to feel comfortable.
To have fun, man.
Yeah. That's interesting that you
we
say
want
that.
you to we want you to feel
fun.
energy when you walk in and feel like there's like a vibe in there.
Yeah.
You know, not like when you walk in those restaurants and it's like, oh my God, I'm just gonna
you can't even like move.
If I sneeze, people are gonna stare at me.
You can't drop your fork.
Was it hard to get Colombians to kind of accept that? Because I'm assuming, just as a third party looking at this, I don't know anything about hospitality or my parents actually ran a Colombian restaurant in California for a while.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I know, in Laguna Niguel, near Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
They for them having gringos accept Colombian food, it was more like you have to look at it first, and that kind of draws you in because you get the big chicharrón and stuff, and then they see it as comfort food. It's almost like Southern type comfort food.
Yeah, totally.
But now we're talking about the other way around. What was it like trying to get Colombians to accept this fine dining in a lax environment?
And with the price point, because the first thing you mentioned, it's not
like your normal menú del día. Well, it's way beyond the menú del día.
But it wasn't easy.
We suffered.
It was a process.
We suffered, and it was a process.
It was a process.
It was very difficult for the first 2.5, 3 years.
Oh, I'd say 3.5, 4, 3.5 for sure.
Right. So would you say that
it was a price point issue because paisas are wonderful people. I love paisas.
We have 2 chichipatos.
I know.
You know what?
It's not
that's
chichipato.
the paisa. The
It's not
paisa
even
said the
that.
paisas are chichipatos.
But a paisa can say that a paisa is chichipato, but I say that it's very like sensible al precio, like very price sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes from a culture where we were kind of bred to like work really hard, save, make that life for yourself. So like, you don't need to eat fancy stuff to carve out that life for yourself. So, eat sencillo. So I understand it, but the price part was hard, and also getting out of their minds what they thought kind of like high-end cuisine was.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So they thought it was like, like steak a la pimienta, because what was our what was our reference here was European food.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like Mediterranean, and the restaurants here that were references, which are wonderful restaurants, but they were European food. It was French, it was Italian, it was, Mediterranean.
Mediterranean, yeah.
And so that was like, okay, that was our reference for what quality cuisine was.
Yeah.
And then we come and we kind of start breaking that up. And yeah, there's a little bit of resistance.
No, and we use Colombian ingredients. I mean, that was like, you're going to serve morillo, you're going to serve beef cheeks.
That happened a
You're going
lot.
to serve
A
pork
lot.
cheeks. And you're serving these cuts that are not like,
People were asking
de un
us,
restaurante de manteles.
people were asking us why we were serving those second and third cuts. We're like, because
Wow.
they're
They're
delicious,
delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
because they're amazing. But it was hard to kind of break the mold of like, well, yeah, we're not just going to be eating filet mignon.
I also think something really important, and like looking back at everything, I think something that really changed for us as well is that when we came to Medellin was just breaking out still in 2008, right? So in those first 4 years that we were open, in the first 3.5, 4 years that we were open, 2.5, 3, 4 years, you started to have a new group of young executives that started to travel a lot for business because new business was opening up everywhere. And there were a lot of people starting to come here for business because, of our proximity. Medellin's a banking center. It's a finance center. So you started having this influx of, the first influx wasn't necessarily tourism. The first influx was business people, man. They were coming in here to do business. So you combine that with the people that were going out to do business, and then they started to look for something maybe that was more familiar to what they were experiencing in other countries. And I think that maybe we were giving them something here in Medellin that was that kind of option. And I think that also was a big catalyst for us, and that helped push our business forward.
And because it's just funny because we always talk about this in terms of the type of business you're going to start. And I think in Colombia, because other people are like, oh, I want to come here, and we talked about this on our last episode. It's like, you want to come here to open a business. I would say if you're coming to Colombia to open a business, make sure that you're catering to Colombians,
right?
Because at any point, for example, we're going to come to the present,
Oof.
when there's no foreigners,
Oh, man.
what the fuck happens, right? And we've talked about this a lot in business decisions that we're about to make and stuff.
Yeah.
And because open again, and I think that's why I said, like, now you guys are like landmark. You guys are, I would say, you represent, and for a long time, and it's not that all of a sudden you guys opened a fancy restaurant, now you're called Carmen, and you guys had a shit ton of money that went behind you, so now you're the fancy restaurant. I'm talking about, I came here in 2011, and you were already known as the fancy restaurant. And so you've got that 3-year period. But in 2011, when I came here, all I saw in 2011, the main market that I saw, and maybe because I wasn't mingling with the higher, the upper echelon, but I saw mainly backpackers. So how do you fill a restaurant of your size
Caliber,
and type with a bunch of backpackers and the odd business traveler? Like, is that, I'm just talking up to,
We didn't.
You didn't.
That's what we say about
We
the
didn't.
first 2.5, 3 years, 3.5 years
And
of
part
Carmen.
of it was because
like,
we
hey,
fell in love with that space.
Yeah.
It almost became this like double-edged sword because it was bigger than what we had ever imagined. And being able to get to the point where it was full on a Monday, on a Tuesday was like, oh my
When did that
God,
happen?
this is
What
amazing.
year did that happen?
4.5, 5.
I'm going to give a big shout out to the New York Times because the New
Yeah,
York
big
Times
time.
did one of their, an amazing journalist, a female journalist who I do not remember her
I
name.
remember that.
Is it the video you're talking
It's
about?
the
36
video.
36
hours
in
in
Medellin.
Yes.
That
beautiful
36
video.
hours video was, I
36
remember
hours in
Carmen
Colombia.
before 36 hours Medellin
Yeah.
and Carmen after 36 hours Medellin. And
Yeah.
Just
I'm
blew it
grateful
up.
for that. I mean,
Amazing.
Blew it up.
we started to get a huge influx of New Yorkers coming to visit. So
Yeah.
that precisely, Joel, is where we start to see that shift from the backpackers
Yeah.
to the New Yorkers that are like, oh, fuck, I can jet down there in 3.5 hours
Yeah.
For $300.
for $300 and I can eat at amazing restaurants for what for me
Yeah.
in dollars is nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
and have a great time because Medellin is an amazing city
Because
with
of the
a
people,
lot
the
to culturally
nightlife,
offer.
everything.
And the
nightlife,
people
yeah.
are amazing, and you have tons of fun. Medellin is a fun city.
Yeah, that video fucked me up real big because I'm also I'm a professional photographer. Never photographed your place, but I take photos of a lot of spaces. You know, of like I call it higher end spaces here, and my vision was to come in with video now because I'm at this still, and my thing was I'm gonna come and make like some real video and show Medellin for the first time because there's no video out there. And then
It's
the New York
true.
Times video dropped, and I'm like, fuck,
They
I
beat
missed
you
the
to it.
train.
They beat
I
you
missed
to
it. That's why you can't even think of that video came up, and I'm like, wow, that was like amazing. I'm like, I started to send that video to other people.
Yeah.
And I think
No,
that
it was a beautiful piece.
I'm saying this not just because you guys are here. I admire trailblazers. You know, I admire the person that's like, okay, here's this little mountain. A coffee shop here would be fucking amazing because X, Y, Z. And they're like, and I know what you're saying. Like, probably from a business perspective, you guys set this thing up, and you guys have this great vision, and maybe your dad had the vision, and maybe one or two of your friends did. But I guarantee you, probably 80% of people are like, I don't know what these guys are thinking. Colombians are never gonna like that. Colombians, firstly, and firstly, why are you guys charging these gringo prices for your food when you could go get the, go down the
Yeah.
street?
No,
and
it
get-
was-
And there was a huge portion issue, like
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
here in Medellin, we're like in Antioquia, we're used to these huge portions.
Yeah.
No,
and there
dude,
was this portion issue.
we upped grams of protein like
The-
50 to
the
75
first
grams
week, we were
in
like,
the first
all right,
week.
everything
It was
is
like,
going
okay,
up like
whoops.
60 grams.
You know, we come
Everything.
from California, working in Californian restaurants, tasting menu restaurants. You know, we're like, okay, this is what we're gonna serve: this much vegetable and this much protein.
Yeah.
And you know,
People
like
wouldn't
we
even eat the vegetables.
we lowered the vegetable and like bumped the protein and like
They're
know
there
what?
for the protein.
yeah,
there
it's,
for the
it's the
protein.
protein.
But something that's really beautiful
But
to me
that
is
culture
that
has like evolved immensely.
it's evolved,
there.
and those people that I remember that were kind of at the beginning that were like, oh my God, what are these people doing? What, great, the food was great, but like it was too pricey and it was, too small. Now those are the same people that are not only our supporters and our fans and rooting us on, but they're also the same people that are proud when they have family members come to visit from out of town and they have business clients come to visit from out of town. They're proud to take them to Carmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they take them straight there. It's like, you're in Medellin. Look,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
in
yeah.
Medellin. Eat this food. Oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, you're in Medellin. And so that's very satisfying.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's satisfying. It's also good. It's been good for us. And also, coming around to the pandemia, it's been good for us to kind of start hard. Like,
Yeah.
things were very challenging at the beginning, and then success came gradually. Success did not come right away. And I think that's been good for us.
Yeah, it's a
People need
good.
to know that.
It's
Never
a,
taken
it's a,
anything for
it's a
granted.
good learning lesson for us too with what's happening right now. Like the correlation between our first years of Carmen and the pandemia.
Yeah.
There's a lot of correlation right now.
We
I mean,
just, like,
obviously the
traveled back in time.
pandemia is worse, but we literally traveled back
Yeah.
11 years, man. I mean,
Well, you've experienced it already. If you had not experienced that, it
Yeah.
was just a straight paved
Yeah,
way.
it was a
right now
straight,
you'd be in
like-
shambles,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Let's go back to March. Let's
Yeah.
go back to March.
Yeah.
March happened, and it was kind of like a left hook that came out of nowhere. You
Yes.
know, like
no backhand. Can we just say?
yeah, it was a
Backhand.
Carmen backhand
Carmen,
that
yeah.
just came out of nowhere.
Top ropes.
Yeah, it did one of those jujitsu rolls that maybe our friend over here knows how to do, and
Yeah.
backhanded all of us
Backhand.
back to fucking 10
Yeah.
years from now.
Yeah,
So
slap you
It,
back
sla-
into
it
the
slapped
flat.
us in a rear naked.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that
yeah.
is the
So-
only thing.
So prior to
comparable.
this, Rob was black, and then he got backhanded by the COVID and slapped the black straight off of his face. Anyway, so
Hey, look at the lips, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
they're there, bro.
You got the little lips going up.
yeah, so obviously the pandemic for us personally in March it hit us, and we lost like 40% of our
40.
income, 40% of our clientele. We luckily bounced back pretty quickly afterwards, but we do digital marketing, so that was kind of expected. People
Yeah.
closing down and finding solutions digitally, they needed to revamp their digital marketing, so that was expected. But when we saw here what happened and what we continue to see during this whole pandemic is people closing for sale signs, for rent signs. So how did that affect your business?
One sec. Good. I love the way he asked that, but I want you guys to like, and we're gonna go
In order?
No. We gotta go in order because
Right.
I want you to think and memorize when that news came out, right? Because we're going to talk about where your business was at that particular point.
Oh.
What, like, as bluntly as possible, what happened when you heard we're going to shut everything down? What's going through your mind at that point? Who wants to go first?
So my first like immediate reaction with the how do you pandemic?
Pandemic, yeah.
Yeah, pandemia just sounds better in
Yes.
Call it
Spanish.
pandemonio.
Yeah.
Pandemonio.
So my dad calls it pandemonio. That's exactly what he calls it.
Pandemonium, yeah.
My dad's nickname is Don Diablo, coined by Rob. Pandemonio.
14 years.
So
That's
before
awesome.
my first recollection of Pandemonio, we were on vacation. We had just moved. Business was booming. We were taking a vacation kind of at a moment where we were like, oh my God, 2020 is just like everything we needed it to be.
It was
Finally,
our
our new
consolidation
restaurants.
year.
Yeah, finally our new restaurants were taking off. We didn't have
weren't
to keep
opening
injecting
anything
capital
new.
where we didn't have any capital to inject anymore. Things were like really stabilizing. This was going to be our year to kind of like
Consolidate.
regather our thoughts, consolidate, and like start saving up again for what the next project was going to be.
Okay.
And we took a very much needed and deserved vacation. We went. I went to go visit some family in Florida. Then we went to go visit
to
Rob's
Miami.
parents. And I remember very specifically, we were all fresco dining. This was like, no one was able to eat inside the restaurants. And all of a sudden, I get a message that flights are closing in 2 days. And there's a possibility that we're going to be trapped
Outside.
in fucking Florida for God only knows how long.
Damn.
All of a sudden, I panic. We have like a cat child. We had just moved. We have like businesses here. I'm like, this can't be happening. Like, this is like the real deal. So that night, we come running home, buy ridiculously expensive tickets to try to make our way back to
Just
Colombia.
get here by
Just
all
get
means.
here by all means necessary.
Thank you, Avianca, for raising prices.
Yeah, we got here literally 24 hours before all flights were shut down. Thank God.
Yeah.
And that's when we came home and we were like, oh shit, we're quarantined now. We just passed through MIA. We're quarantined for 2 weeks.
Okay.
In those 2 weeks, we literally were like stuck in our houses. After that, the restaurants continued to be closed
Yeah.
for like another week and a half.
The restaurants were open during those 2 weeks.
No, they weren't.
Not entirely. They were open for about another week while we were in
No.
quarantine.
Open meaning people were sitting
We
in
got
there?
here.
Yeah, before
got
they
here-
had closed.
we-
Before they
we-
closed everything down.
We made the deadline and maybe the restaurants were open.
A
Moshi was
a
open.
week.
Carmen was closed. Moshi was open 3 to 4 days and then it was closed. And we were
it was
closed dark for 2.5 weeks. What was going through my head at that moment was like, what's happening? How long is this going to last?
Yeah.
And then really very rapidly in that whole kind of like quarantine period, because we had just come from the exterior, was what are we going to do? How are we going to redesign everything to function in a domicilio, a delivery,
Yeah.
mechanism? How is that going to work?
So you guys didn't have.
What's going to happen with Carmen? Carmen is not for delivery.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have delivery before.
In Carmen?
No.
Carmen
No,
ever.
Never.
Moshi?
Andrew never.
Moshi did have delivery.
Did? Okay.
But very,
Moshi
I mean,
did,
it was
but it
But
was
Carmen
very-
was like your bread and butter, right? Is that like the main?
Well, the other restaurants were very new, and
Right.
they were
Right.
finally just kind of
Pick it up
standing
and
on their
go,
own
yeah.
2 feet.
I see.
There
Yeah.
were babies that were like crawling, and we were like holding them. We were like teaching them how to walk.
No, baby, they were
And then-
walking. They were
were
like they
walking.
were starting to run.
No,
in
2020, the
January and
babies were
February they were jogging. They
Moshi
were
was jogging because
Oh.
everybody.
Don
Don Diablo
Diablo
was
was
jogging.
jogging.
They
Jogging
were
was
jogging.
kind of like
man.
jogging. Moshi was kind of like on everyone's everyone's tongue when you're talking about Kuon was like old news. We're like, oh, you got to go to Moshi because Kuon.
It takes
a
it's
year
when
old
you
now.
when you open a new project, you have to be in it, and it's going to take you at least 9 months to really push that project to where you want it to be to meet your numbers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Similar to a real pregnancy.
Yeah, to a pregnancy. It's basically that's what it is.
But like
You didn't just randomly pick
Much
them.
No,
longer.
not any. But to elaborate, when we got back, man, Carmen and I were like, "Fuck, we're in quarantine. What the fuck are we gonna do? We can't even go to the restaurants that are open because we tried to do." This is before the first complete quarantine in Medellin. like we were in our quarantine for coming back from the States, but before they locked Medellin down, we had, Carmen says 3 days, it was more like 5 to 6 days. And I mean, we tried to do delivery from Carmen one night, and it was a fucking disaster.
Oh my
No, I mean, it was like the worst fucking disaster. I got more WhatsApps that night, like, what the fuck happened? Like, that. I mean,
My
it was just
fish
like,
is cold.
it was like
My
and I mean,
It's
plate
a whole
didn't
different
come with
business
sauce.
model.
Of course it is.
and we knew that, but we tried it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to try it.
but we had to
We
try.
had to.
Yeah.
So
But we also kind of knew in the back of our minds
That
that
it
we were
was
kind of
never
just
gonna
trying
work.
to try it.
Yeah.
But that we understood fundamentally that our concept at Carmen
Is an
was
experiment.
not
Right.
adaptable
It's an experience.
to a
It's
delivery
not-
service.
You couldn't send Rob to DJ at their house, right?
Send them a
That's
mixtape?
a big
Not
part
that
of it.
really.
Send them a mixed rock
Okay.
tape.
Really good
You
idea.
could have.
Really good idea to fucking send a USB, dude. That's a really good idea to send a USB, man.
You can't eat without this.
Rob made you a mix.
I'm gonna
Your
have to
fish
give,
is
I'm gonna have to
cold.
give you
Your
props
fish is
on that,
cold,
man.
but have a mixtape.
Yeah, you get the USB. But all right, so Carmen and your other restaurants have a very lucrative business before COVID.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 2 weeks that you
Best
have to shut
year.
down.
This was going to be our best year ever.
But we're
And
talking
not
about.
just in Medellin, but in Cartagena as well.
So how many employees did you have pre-COVID?
146.
146.
154.
154.
No, it was 146.
Okay, so I gotta.
So
Sorry,
we got
guys.
a
I gotta
couple
stop for a
contractors.
second. For a second.
Stop.
I'm gonna
Collaborate.
ask. I'm gonna ask. Or audience of one.
My mom's watching.
Who's Patrick? Who's more reliable with the numbers?
Okay, all right. What happens after maybe 1 month, 2 months? Was there a decline? Was it a sharp decline?
Okay. First of all,
This is
I'm gonna
special part
be
of the
very
podcast.
honest
Be very honest.
and
Yes.
Right hook.
say what I fucking think and get a backhand maybe. So the first thing that happened, we reacted in a way that we're like, okay, we know Carmen's not going to be delivery friendly. We got the word that we're going to be able to do the delivery.
Okay.
So we started with our nucleo creativo, which is Mateo, Sebastian, Carmen, and myself, and we started mind mapping concepts.
Okay.
Like
It's
I
like
got
our
stoned
inner
I
circle
got
of-
super stoned one night and I mind mapped a shitload of concepts out. It's like what goes well delivery, and I was like, oh yeah, all right,
Yeah.
pizza,
Yeah.
burgers,
But
all
you
right.
didn't think about the mixtape?
No, I didn't fucking think about the fucking USB. Yeah, I've got that
God damn
now.
it.
That one's on the radar right now.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an added plus right now. Anyway, we mind mapped that shit out, and after the first quarantine, which was 14 days, and we had been in lockdown for 28, day 19 we opened the pizzeria.
That was
And
the first thing.
The first thing
So
was
it was like
Moshi
a-
domicilio because Moshi already had domicilio.
Moshi was already on Rappi, very low, but it was already on Rappi. We already knew that the food worked for takeaway and for delivery. So that was an easy, but like the very first thing that came to us was like pizza.
Yeah.
Because Carmen
First
worked
of
at
all,
one of the
because
best pizzerias
I worked
in
at
San
the
Francisco.
best pizzeria.
One. She's
Yeah.
at one.
I'm gonna get it back. One more of these and I'm gonna get backhanded. It's coming, baby. It's coming, man. Look at the knuckles. Look at the knuckles.
When she said the best, she cracked that knuckle.
yeah,
the
right.
best. Yeah. Oh, there it is.
All right.
All right. So you worked at
It
the best
was
pizzeria.
the best pizzeria in SF. So that was
Okay.
one thing. And then the other thing was like, in Rob's, kind of stony,
Below.
what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Pizza was like,
All right,
duh.
Stony,
pizza
what are we
is
gonna do?
cheap,
Turned into
it's
something
easy,
very meticulous.
It's
But
functional,
okay.
and everybody in Medellin likes pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a no-brainer for us. It was something that was like our first go-to, La Pizzeria by Carmen, and the pizza is phenomenal. And right now we sell the pizza. You can get the pizza finished and it'll come to your doorstep, ready to eat, or you can get it refrigerated and you can
You
do
heat
it
up
yourself
then,
in your
yeah.
oven, which I think is better because I like my pizza really
Yeah,
nice and
really
hot.
nice, yeah.
Crispy. Yeah.
Our other thing with all of the by Carmen concepts is, I just want to put this in, is that we use the same ingredients we use in Carmen. We use the same quality ingredients.
Yeah.
We're sourcing our ingredients. Our tomatoes are still coming from Don Gabriel.
Yeah.
He grows them to the exact ripeness that we want them at. We're still using all of the same ingredients at like half the price point now. So
In your
it's
takeout.
in our takeout. So
Wow.
that's something.
So you're getting all
So
the
that's something
quality
to
of
consider.
Carmen.
But
You're getting
for a
all the
lower
quality
price.
of Carmen. You're getting a lower price and a different concept. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, pizza
Yeah.
has a price point.
Yeah,
I mean,
pizza's got a
but
price
you also can't change your fundamental system and technique of cooking either. We cook a certain way, man. We cook like this. We don't cook at the mid level.
Yeah, we haven't dumbed anything down.
Umo was
for our
a good
domicilios.
experience for us because Umo was like our first experience in that mid-range thing,
Mid-level, yeah.
and we didn't know how to do it, and that's part of the reason that Umo
Why?
closed.
It closed, okay.
Also with the change in the barrio,
Yeah.
was a
Party.
big
Yeah.
change in the
Party
neighborhood,
and sit
party,
down.
bar, and you
remember
didn't want to have
that.
a restaurant there
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the cooking was adapting, but we cook one way, man. I mean, that's how.
Wait, is Humo where bin trash is now?
Next to it.
Next to it.
There is a little restaurant, but it's more barish.
Is that pescateri?
No, it's
No,
after that.
other
It's
side.
on the corner. It's on the corner.
Other
Yeah,
side.
so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Andrew, I think one of like the main points of kind of how we attacked this whole like pandemia was Rob kind of very early on, surely in one of the Stony Hazes and and
Or
chilling at our house in quarantine, was like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna maintain our quality and we're gonna dominate and be the best that we can in every
In
single
that
category.
space,
So
yeah.
like
And we're
if-
gonna offer variety.
So we started to think about what kind of foods we ordered when we wanted to eat, delivery. And
Right.
we're like, okay, well, we get like quesadillas and burritos. Okay, check. We get pizza, check. We get burgers, check. So we started to create all these different concepts using, as Rob was saying, like best ingredients, all of our techniques that we've been, creating over the years and been perfecting over the years. But at the same time, we were being really innovative, like with the burger bar, for example. Rob came up with like the Don Corleone. So it's like that same beef patty, but like breaded in panko, fried. And then we made this really good kind of like sauce with like basil and tomato and onion that kind of goes on that.
That's
So
cool.
we kind of did this really cool like intersection of like the same ingredients. So without having to like multiply our mise en place, which is like our production, but change flavors and be able to use this one ingredient in a taco and for a pizza topping and also for a burger.
But it tastes completely different.
But it tastes completely different.
Economies of scale.
Exactly. And in that way, we were able to not like create this production like nightmare that we weren't going to be able to handle.
and also
but have
create,
this variety.
Exactly.
Because
Variety.
what Rob's vision was like, we need to have variety. We need to dominate in like everything.
Yeah.
So we need to have a lot of variety, and I think we did that. And every time we launched a new concept, we saw, the sales increase.
Right. Like a move in the needle.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
And that was really good for us, and it was really neat. It was like much needed for us to survive through the pandemia.
Right.
Was to be able to have a new concept and kind of be like, ooh, for those 2 weeks, everybody was ordering tacos. And there was like this boom of tacos,
That's
and
cool.
then
But
it
is this
kind
a
of started
right away
to die
thing though?
down.
But is this a right? Is it like you guys?
It's
you
like
guys
a
sit at
temporary
home-
thing.
Well, you launch, right?
We were launching something new right
Every 2
after the
weeks.
pandemic. We were launching something every week and a
Okay,
half.
wait,
or
wait.
every
One
2
second.
weeks.
Let's put it in perspective for a second, because let's talk before the announcement. You're still, foxtrotting and bunny hopping through life over there in the U.S. or wherever you guys were vacationing, Trump land, and I like throw that in there. And what was, so you guys said it was a great year. How many people were you serving in your restaurants? Let's call it Colombia wide per night. Do you know that number? You know that number, Rob.
Yeah,
Don't
he's the
disappoint
number
me.
guy.
Don't disappoint me. He's calculating.
I have to count.
Sorry,
Dude.
listen.
Sorry.
And he's tapping his fingers. Yes.
140. I gotta get a
We can
calculator
figure it
out.
out.
I'm sorry.
We'll get the
Yeah,
calculator.
Carmen. Hit us with the number.
give
Carmen,
us
if you hit us with the
let's
number
see,
right
if she
now.
hits us with a rough
Yeah.
number right now, we'll,
I'm gonna do everything
we'll
the factor
cheers
say.
to
Yeah,
it.
I'll just down this.
So 80 plus 120 is 200. That's Medellin, about 200 in Medellin, average. And then we've got another 100 easily in Cartagena. So it's about 300 people per night between the both cities.
363 was the three.
They're only about 25%
cheers
off.
to that.
Cheers
Cheers to that.
today.
Cheers to
Good
that.
math. You're only like 25%.
I'm sorry,
off. That's not
I
bad.
know all the numbers, but I couldn't add it that fast in my head,
Carmen, I'm gonna
man.
cheer you because
Cheers.
know-
Carmen
you know what I
was
love?
close. You were close.
You
You
say
were
the
close.
Carmen is too
363
competitive.
and everyone just assumes
Hold
that
on,
that's the
Carmen.
right
It's
number.
correct.
Carmen,
January
I'm
and February was
Carmen,
363
I'm a
and
closet
9.
psychologist, and I'm gonna tell you what right now. You're so fucking competitive. You didn't even pick up your glass to
I
cheers
didn't.
to us.
You got-
Cheers the
come
thing,
on.
man.
Cheers
She's
to
like,
Rob
hell no,
knowing
it's
the
right
60
numbers.
off.
I am very
I know you're competitive.
Do you want to play a
Okay.
game?
Yeah. So 360 before pandemia.
Just call it 350 so I don't
Okay.
get in trouble.
42.
But it's 360.
300 before
Yeah.
pandemia.
I just did 1
350,
week.
350.
I just did 1
No,
week.
I think 40 for the babies is very low.
No, I just did 1 week and I included Sushi Bar, which you didn't.
Oh, I didn't include sushi.
Oh, shit.
See, he's got
Flawed
that. That's his baby.
mathematics.
That's his baby.
All right.
I know, I didn't include sushi
Yeah.
bar.
Totally
Yeah,
Fuck.
just
forgot
leave
about
it.
their baby.
I
Did not
did.
Forgot about the
include the
sushi bar baby.
I did.
So
Technically true.
yeah, so you guys had a bunch of people turning over tables. So we just got news today about a possible reopening, or
Possible? No, man. It's going, man.
Okay, so tell me about that. What did you guys hear? Because
I feel like we're jumping the gun. I just hold on before the reopening. Hold
All
on.
right.
I got a question about
okay,
this.
okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
That's
Got
a juicy
question.
topic.
That's
That's
a
a very
real.
juicy
That's a
topic.
real.
That's a
juicy-
very
That's a
juicy
real
topic.
juicy
It's
topic.
a really
Very
juicy
juicy.
topic.
I'm
We're
jumping
coming
the
to
gun.
that.
All right,
We're
go
coming
ahead.
That's a
to that.
real
You're right.
juicy
Okay,
topic.
so you move from 350
50.
50. To say
tables,
350.
right?
That's what
People,
we decided.
People.
A 9
In-
Right?
between both cities.
And how
Between
much,
both cities.
2 weeks later, how many domicilios are you doing?
0. 2 weeks later, 0.
Zero.
Okay.
Zero.
2 months
It
later.
went from 2 weeks 0.
2 months later.
2 months later, none in Cartagena. 0 in Cartagena.
Zero.
And
Cartagena.
I can't tell you, I mean, the number of
2 months
domicilios
later in Medellin.
doesn't really give you a comparison
No.
to the actual number of people because it's based on dollar sign.
Let's put it another way.
So-
drop in percentage of
Percentage?
sales.
Okay, our percentage of sales currently at this point in the pandemia, after growing our domicilio operation in Medellin, is 6% of what we were making between the 4 restaurants.
6%.
So if you have an
From
equipe,
what you were
if you
making
have a
pre-pandemic.
team, 6%, man. That's what domicilio does to a restaurant.
Okay, so what happens
If
for
you
those-
don't already have something
And
establecido.
Right.
6% is like a very kind of rough estimate. It could even be less.
Less.
It could even
It's
be less.
not a rough estimate.
But wait, hold on.
We,
Let's
we
say-
are
let's say
both
exact-
business. We're
yeah,
both
yeah.
business people, and we know that the biggest assets to our business
You
are
can
our
see the
employees.
fall, yeah.
Are our employees.
Oh.
So what
Our
happens
team-
to
our
that
team
150
for us is
people
everything.
you guys had?
Okay, well, in the first days of the pandemia, the Ministerio de Trabajo issued many decretos
Okay.
saying
I love the
impres-
Spanglish right now.
saying
So good.
empresario, you are responsible, and it is illegal because the pandemia is not
justification.
fuerza mayor, so it's not a major force. It's not. They weren't recognizing it as
It
a
wasn't a
pan-
major force.
It's not a
They're-
justification.
They're not recognizing it as a justification.
sufficient
Fuerza
for you to
mayor,
be
that's-
able to lay people off,
or
which is what happened in Europe, is what happened
in the
in
United
US.
States, where are their systems of unemployment?
Yeah.
So they're basically saying, empresario, you're responsible for unemployment. So at that time, all of our labor lawyers, and we consulted with outside labor lawyers, and they're saying, you have to follow these decretos.
Okay.
So when you have people that, as Carmen is a family, and you have people that have worked for you for, 10 years. We have people that work for us for 10 years, 7 years, 8 years, 5 years, 6 years. You can imagine with a payroll combined between the two cities of 400 million a month, you can imagine what that amount of
Wait,
money
your payroll is 400 million a month?
was. Yes.
400 million a month.
Yeah. We employed a lot of people, man. We employed 150 people.
I
Multiply
thought it
that,
was
man.
156.
Oh,
Hey, we agreed over here on we agreed on
I
150.
was just making
Wow,
a joke.
We
with
agreed
you.
on 150.
No, you're not making those. This is the competitive side. She's like keeping
I
track
know.
right now.
Just
I
I know
keep it track. I'm gonna get it back
competition.
here. Anyway,
Kobe's birthday.
you
man.
can you can
Gotta
start
be competitive.
you,
Mamba mentality.
Mamba mentality.
I'm celebrating Kobe.
you
Yeah.
can start imagining
Right.
if you're a restaurant in anywhere in the world and you're a restaurant, like people think restaurants are real romantic and like restaurants make a ton of money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when you look at a restaurant on a global scale, fucking Google it. A restaurant that's doing really well is going to make 8 to 12% per year
Profit,
right? So you
which
look,
is not a huge.
which is not a huge. It's a good profit margin, but it's not a huge profit margin. But and we're at the upper end of that profit margin because we manage our restaurants well. But you look at that payroll that we have, and you look at the government that says, "Hey, you have to support all of your employees."
Yeah.
And 1 minute from the next, on March 19th, you stop receiving 1 centavo anywhere.
Yeah.
And what does that do? And I'm not talking just about us. I'm talking about all the restaurants in Colombia, man.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I mean, look at Hari. Hari Sasson is the most iconic chef in fucking Colombia, and he's already closed 4 restaurants, man.
How many does he have? 4 or how many?
More than that.
5, 6, Cartagena, Hari's. He closed Balzac, Hari's Bar.
Balzac?
Club
Bals-
Colombia.
Balzac. Hari, I'm sorry, I'm a
Harry
gringo.
closed up his
All right.
ball sack for.
We're going to ball sack
nothing coming
tonight.
out of there now.
Taking the
I
kids to
saw
ball
that.
sack.
And like,
Hari,
like, let's go to ball sack.
Don't worry, Harry. All of our ball sacks are closed up.
Hari will
Ever
forgive
since
us.
fucking-
Hari will forgive us. He's a
Damn,
friend.
I got no balls. Fucking-
Hari's a friend. He will forgive us. I swear.
Forgive us, Harry, for we know not what we do.
Harry's ball sack.
Anyway, to go back to what I was saying, man, it was like a major blow.
Yeah.
Because basically the government said, okay, you're responsible for unemployment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we had money in the bank.
And meanwhile, we're reading everything going on, like reading the New York Times, what's going on in New York, because New York got hit really hard
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
and
And it's like
we're
unemployment.
very
Boom.
connected to like the restaurant industry in New York, and everybody's just like, hey, everybody goes layoffs. Everybody's getting unemployment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't exist in Colombia. So we
value
Rob
our
and
teams, man.
Rob
They're
and
our
I
family,
have
man.
always put our teams 1st. We've always managed our businesses way more with our heart than with our brain.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we are where we are because we've had a good balance between the two.
Of course.
But definitely the pandemia has been a test for us and has been like, you're going to use your heart and your business is going to drown. So we've had to definitely adjust that balance of like really kind of putting things into context and say, if the ship is going to sink, are you really going to sacrifice the whole fucking ship sinking just for like a few people
Yeah.
that you may need to throw off the boat so that the boat, the ship doesn't
continue
sink?
Floating, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's kind of where Rob is going. It's like we were put to make these really challenging decisions that were decisions that went against everything that we have felt and
Stood for as a company.
stood for as a company to operate over
Sounds
the
like
last
one of the
11
Saw
years.
movies. You seen Saw?
Nah, I don't watch horror.
Oh, it's just basically like Saw. Okay, so anyways, go ahead. Any Saw people, you understand what I'm saying.
But yeah, I mean, basically in Cartagena, we had we just had to say everybody we're not able to continue. We probably should have done it a lot earlier. We would have saved ourselves a lot of kind of economic
But
stability.
I thought you weren't allowed to. I thought you weren't allowed to do
We
that.
weren't allowed
30%
to,
off.
but it was
30%
because
people
very
off.
initially in the pandemia, where Rob said it was like this whole like coercion. It was kind of like this scare tactic from
the
from
decreto,
Ministerio
the
de Trabajo.
language of the decretos from the Ministerio de Trabajo was so fuerte. And in
The Spanglish is really coming out.
I'm sorry. I hope everybody speaks Spanglish,
It was
but
very strong.
it's a very strongly worded mandate. Decreto is mandate.
Yeah.
So strongly worded mandate from the work
Just keep doing
ministry.
Spanglish.
Yeah, it sounds better in Spanish.
Yeah.
So all of the 5 our labor lawyer, the other ones we consulted with, are like, you guys have to comply with this.
Yeah.
And then there were examples. So what the government did not want at that point, and what they
Was
used,
mass layoffs,
what
which
they
made a
used
lot
these
of
for
sense. So there was
was
scare tactics
mass firing. So they
to
used
avoid
scare
mass
tactics.
firings. But what happened to us as a business?
We
What happened is that the cash flow that we did have was spent to supporting our team
Employees, yeah.
for 2-3 months, and we were out.
Well,
there was
I'm
nothing to
just
do
doing
after
the math.
that.
I'm a
Like, you
little-
guys were
do
just hoping
the
and
math,
thinking,
bro.
I'm a little
If you have a
math, guys
payroll
say
of
we're
400 million and then
per,
suddenly,
per month, per
Yeah.
how long?
Meanwhile,
month.
we're waiting to see what's going on with this
My
virus.
God,
Is it going
400
to keep
million.
going?
Joe, what's that math? $400 million in dollars? He's our math guy, by the way.
About
on our team.
125,
That's a fucking
125,000.
buttload
little
of
more
money.
than that.
a
To get
month.
closer to your mic.
That's a shitload of money per month.
You gold.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of money per month. So you guys were trying to keep the ship afloat, like you were saying,
And we ended up drowning ourselves
right?
with resources.
In just 2 months, in just 1 month.
And there's no bailout coming for you guys. It's not like the Colombian
Aw,
government.
man,
Like, well,
this
you
is-
know, you guys did well by my people. I'm just
There's
gonna
zero
bail you
bail.
out.
No.
We were trying to protect our family
Yeah.
and trying to keep it as long as that we could. But there was a point where we had to say, okay, there's nothing else we can do.
What's that point? What month is that point?
That point is the end of
June.
May, the 1st of June, where we said,
Okay.
especially in Cartagena, because
Yeah.
there was no money in Cartagena.
In
There was-
Cartagena, it
there
was
was
Zero
Zero
no
people.
zero ingresos.
Zero.
Like we
Yeah.
tried
Because
to do
there's
we tried to
delivery.
do we tried to do delivery.
Why is that? Why didn't it work in Cartagena?
There's not a mar-
the
there's not
local
enough
the
market.
local market doesn't do it. The
Okay.
local market is not.
But are
apt
they
for
no
it.
like foreigners trapped here? Like how there's a bunch of foreigners trapped in Medellin? They
Yeah,
continue to
but I mean,
order?
come on,
Cartagena,
man.
not so
I mean,
many.
No, it's
It's
not.
not.
They got
It's
out.
not like
It's
Medellin.
not the same. It's not the same amount. Like I mean, the
Yeah.
level. I mean, to generate 6% of what we were
There
making
was
in Medellin.
also-
Do you know how many orders we have to have
Yeah,
a day?
a lot of orders.
I mean, it's like
There was like a lot of loopholes too. Like one of the loopholes was, you can't have access to that help from the government, which was called the PIFE,
Yeah.
which the government said we're going to help pay. Was it 40%? Yeah.
Something around there. I remember that.
Yeah.
40% of a minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't access that 40% if your company showed that you had gotten that you had let go more than 30% of your team.
Oh, so
And
just
so
stipulate- okay.
there was a few months that we were only eligible to get that benefit from the government for 1 month.
And that's
Oh my
only
gosh.
only
That's
here
fucked
in
up.
Medellin, because all of our team and our family here in Medellin, they're so fucking dedicated
Oh my god.
that I mean the dedication level here in Medellin is
Was
so high
unreal.
it makes you want to cry. That they're like, they're like everybody from me and Carmen down. We signed an otro C or a amendment to our contract to
It said
work.
we're going to make the minimum.
We're going to make the minimum wage.
Okay.
Everybody who works at Carmen
You're gonna get
and
them.
Moshi Don Diablo makes the minimum wage right now.
Okay.
With basically no
Everybody
propinas
signed
either
it.
because
Yeah.
Domicilio doesn't bring
And
propinas.
there was also about 2 months where everybody worked for free.
Yeah. With,
And that
Wow.
and
That-
because of our
that is
team
Colombia.
And that-
That's
and
that
Medellin.
shows
because of our
you-
team, and this was a very paisa mentality because the situation did not happen in Cartagena.
Yeah.
We were able to survive.
Let's jump the gun like
Mm-hmm.
I did before.
Jump it up.
What's going on today? Today is the 24th of August, and we had some sort of announcement by the government talking about reopening up business. Oh, can you guys tell us a little about that? What have you guys seen, heard?
Yesterday was like Revolution Day, where all of the restaurants banded together in the city, and we all posted at the same time saying, "Fuck it, we're reopening the 27th, whether it's approved or not, because we're not going to take it anymore because
Yeah.
there's no
'Cause we're
way
gonna
to
die.
we're gonna
Drowning.
die.
We're gonna
We're
die.
not gonna we're not gonna support our employees
And the
anymore.
truth of the matter is that COVID is not a sufficient reason to let all of our businesses that have been frozen for 5 months die.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not just talking about supporting a small amount of employees. We're talking about projects that we've been building over the course of years and decades, and we're talking about the livelihood of our local economy, and we're also talking about the livelihood of one of our most important
Industries.
industries, which at the same time is in our top 3 for the country. I don't know how to say it in English, but like
Spanish.
turismo, tourism is one of our top 3
Industries, yeah.
Industries in
Money
Colombia.
making
That
industries,
is, yeah, exactly. And we directly support that.
Right.
So,
The thing is, the government, like, really, there was, fuck, I'm Spanglishing again.
Do it.
Doesn't matter.
Translate it after.
well,
This is
I'll-
a-
Negaron a
They denied.
la industria. They denied that
Yeah.
the industry exists, man. That the industry was actually important for tourism. That the industry actually had an impact on this fucking country, on what was happening, on why all of these conventions were coming to Medellin.
Yeah.
Why is everything coming to Medellin? Because there's fucking amazing places to eat.
There's
Osi,
options.
Nan, Carmen,
Options.
everything, man. I mean, it's like Sambombi. Like, I mean, we're all there. We're all doing the work. We have thousands of people in our families employed, thousands of people from their families that depend on them, and that's what hurts
Not
me the
only
most,
that,
man.
But
Yeah.
not only that, I'd really like to like open it a little bit broader and look at what the restaurant as part of the cultural infrastructure of our economy with all of our purveyors and all of the
That's
artisans
the other thing, is the
and
purveyors,
all of
man.
the campesinos and the agricultores
Yeah.
that are people that rely on us for their livelihood.
It's a domino effect.
And so
man.
it's a complete domino effect. So
Yeah.
now we're not paying all of our people in Santa Elena, in San Cristobal. We're not ordering, all of our artisanal products from all of, our 250, people base that are
Base.
the
Base,
Spanish
yeah.
is
Database,
just really
database.
getting intense. Database
Of purveyors.
of purveyors.
Yep.
And so it's just this complete domino effect that has a much greater impact on our economy
When we
than
stop.
I think really people
But
understand.
people without a sort of an economic or business background don't really understand it. And I'll tell you why. Because to them, it's just like, oh, these rich people just want to stay rich, right? And I think that a lot of people that are outside of, that are not entrepreneurs, right? And this is a big part of entrepreneurship, that goes beyond just the profit making, is your family, right? And whichever way you look at it. They don't understand that domino effect or what shutting down one business actually means. It looks like, okay, well, Carmen and Rob not going to eat nice anymore. Who the fuck cares about them? They've been doing good, right?
Yeah.
That's how the general small
All right,
mind
well,
thinks.
Yeah.
look at it this
Right?
way.
It's
Look
not-
at it this way.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Charles.
Ezequiel and Marcela from Santa Elena, they sell us hortalizas. They sell us vegetables, right? We have a account with them
Lettuces and
that just in Medellin, we're buying 25 million a month for them. Where did that go?
Yeah.
That went down to, with the domicilio operation, we're buying maybe like 5 million, not even. I
And
mean,
they probably scaled and grew with you. They scaled their
Exactly.
business, right? And they're like
Because of
small
you.
business.
you have campesinos
Yeah.
in the fields throwing shit away,
Yeah,
man.
it's crazy.
Yep, we saw that. That was on the news.
And in our
Campesinos
family,
throwing shit
in
away.
our family, we have people that have worked for us for so long and that have scaled with us into salary levels where it's like, fuck, dude, I bought my car based on my salary level. I gotta turn my car in.
Yeah,
I
cool.
bought my salary level because it's not like Carmen and I grew by ourselves. It's like we grew with everybody, man.
Right.
I mean, we're
And
truly
we
our
have
family.
we have a very different outlook in terms of growing our business. Growing our business is so that we all grow together.
Yeah.
And I feel like in that way we have a little bit of a different vision than maybe like the typical Colombian business owner.
Yeah.
We've always felt that like growing is something that has to be done
Global.
globally because we're all in this together. Rob and I are not creating these businesses and we're not, evolving the way that we are just alone.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's been painful. It's been painful to see how so many of our team members have grown and then they're kind of just like taking these steps back. Because of the pandemic.
And there's something that's very, very, I don't want to say unique to developing nations. That
Yes.
a lot of people who are watching this podcast out there, their reality is different than the reality of a developing nation. So just for you folks out there to explain something, the domino effect, I would believe, is a lot bigger in a developing nation than in a lot of places, right? One, a lot of folks in Colombia are depending on a family member living in the US, right? That person loses their job. A lot of people here suffer. Similarly here, the one chef, the one wait staff, they could technically be supporting like 15 people. We don't even know how many. I don't know what the average is, right? But the minute you cut the limbs off of them, and even if you didn't cut it, you put them down to a minimum wage, which is how much?
956.
956, which is more or less about
956,000.
956,000 pesos, which is more or
856.
less about 275 US in my calculation.
So imagine, you may have a family.
Yeah.
You may
It's not
have
up to
other people that you live with that depend on that. And you're making $250 a month.
Divided by, let's say, an average household of 4.
Right.
So you're talking about $50 per person to do everything
Yeah,
per
to
month.
do everything.
Right?
That's a big
Down to-
hit.
That's a
big hit.
and that's not the same thing as you guys are. Just so people are listening, it's not the same as the United States and Canada. I have
No.
friends that are collecting $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And
to
in
sit
unemployment,
there,
man.
To
In
sit there.
unemployment, just to
Yeah.
sit there.
Yeah,
and
there's,
they have their
there's,
job.
there's none of
So-
that here, man.
That doesn't happen here.
doesn't
So
happen.
I think it's an important moment to also just say, Colombia is not just a developing country, it's also a very corrupt country, which has had a huge effect on how we are able to tackle COVID. And also, we don't have a great healthcare system. So we haven't been able to kind of take that mentality like, all right, well, what happens, and, we'll just deal with sick people. So we've had to attack the economy. We've had to close down.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, you look at Europe and you say, well, shit, Europe, a lot of countries in Europe didn't have to just completely close their economy to get through this pandemic. We've had to. And I think we're one of the very first and few countries that have like literally just kind of done this lockdown, which I don't really think in the grand scheme of things is beneficial.
Yeah.
Because I think we have to learn how to live with this virus and take care of ourselves and take care of other people, but at the same time not let our economy completely collapse and crumble around
Or we
us.
look at Sweden as the example. You look at Sweden, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal today, and they cite Sweden, their death toll is lower than the general European death toll. And the epidemiologists say that they're closer to herd immunity than anybody, and they didn't do any of
never
those.
shut
They
down.
never
They
shut
never did
down.
Never shut down. I saw that.
And their economy is much less affected.
But then, and again, I don't want to get. I'm not going to go too far into this because
Yeah, I don't
know
wanna
that we
debate
get.
that
But,
either.
but with that being said, you mentioned a very good point, right? You made a very very good point. Maybe Sweden's healthcare system could
handle
deal with it. Right? They're like, okay, we
Absolutely.
bring them through.
No,
Here,
we have
here, I
to
don't know.
consider
Yeah, yeah.
everything. We have to consider everything.
Yeah, so it's not like a
Yeah.
black or white equation. But the thing is, and I mentioned this to you guys before because we were talking about this. Is my Canadian friends last night said, and all of my Canadian friends are very proud about how Canada in general has handled it. In terms of restaurants or whatever. My brother works
But
in a bar.
Canada's always such a
Great place. I know. We're beautiful
Yeah.
people.
Exactly.
Canada's
It's such a
amazing. And
prime
they're-
example
but-
of the world.
But Canada's
They're an
always
anomaly.
like yeah,
Exactly.
they
They're like
really
an
are.
anomaly.
They're like the
They're
Nordic
an anomaly.
states.
They just
Yeah.
like always do things right.
Yeah, it's just like
Why is that?
because they watch what the fucking
The
Big
US
Brother does and
Yeah.
fucks up.
Yeah.
And then they do like
I
okay,
saw
we're
a
not gonna
sign
do
though. I
that.
saw a sign that said
Let's not even.
Trump will
Let's
protect us from Canada.
Let's not even talk about that motherfucker.
That was the best one. Anyway,
Let's
we're
not
going
even
there.
talk
No,
about
we're
that
not going
motherfucker.
there.
Let's
We're
please
here
not
for-
go
we're
there.
not
going there. We're not going there.
Because
We're
I'll
not
go
going
off
there.
on a fucking blue blood tangent. That
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
like,
No,
But Canada always does kind of seem to do the right thing.
But so this is just the regular person talking. And I said, so why are you guys so happy about what Canada's done? And they said, you know what? Unlike a lot of other countries in the world, because they're looking at Colombia, they don't give a fuck about Colombia because I'm there. They go check out the numbers. They check out the U.S. because they've got family there. They said, you know why? Because we didn't do anything extreme. We did no extremism. There was there's no lock everything down.
The same
or like,
Swedish example.
Exactly. You put some measures in place. You tell people that, and again, it could be a very cultural, and a lot of this is cultural, right? The United States, as far as my opinion on this, is the United States is very, we're liberty, me, and then there's other places that are just
well,
like,
we have the coasts, and then we have
exactly.
the
And
center.
It's
I
very
find it
different.
surprising that our president, and I'm not here to speak poorly about our president,
Uh-huh.
even though I could.
Yeah.
And I would have a lot to say, but I'm surprised that he would come to speak every single night, and we never really understood the Colombian population, what we really needed to do to take care of ourselves, which was basic. We just needed to maintain some fucking distance. We needed to wear a fucking mask, and we needed to disinfect ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we just would have understood that as a culture and just really pounded that message through, I don't think we would have had the economic collapse and crisis that we have.
So
right now.
one of the, and what you just mentioned is actually a very, very key point for those of you also watching this, is that we talked about when are we going to open for travel. And I think this is the biggest, like one of the most fucked up things is when it's like if somebody goes, I got something really important to tell you. I can't tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you it later. And you're like, what's
You're
later?
like, what?
Right? It's like we're sitting here, right? And they're like, we're gonna open on September 1st, or we're gonna open this in a week. And then they're like, no, we're not gonna open in a week. So we push the dates.
Well,
And
so
now,
going back
Or how
to
about we
Let's go back to
quarantine
July,
till
talking
this
about
date.
restaurants.
Now we've got another quarantine.
exactly.
Now we've got
So
another
they leave you.
quarantine.
They tag. It's like a titare,
Yeah,
like
it's
a
like
little
a-
puppet,
yeah.
and they're like this. But everyone in the country, so you guys know, locals and foreigners, know not to trust the word of what the government's saying, because there's a very likely that within a week span, which is usually when they do it, they pull the rug from under you, and they're like, gotcha, we're changing the date, and that's what they continue
We
doing.
spend money in July to get the restaurants ready.
What is that? What did you do there?
We brought staff from Cartagena that were unemployed to, like, because we didn't have enough staff here in Medellin. We started a major
spending a
overhaul
lot of
of
money
protocols for the restaurant.
to get
of
the restaurants ready
biosecurity.
for what the restaurants needed to be able to operate under the current
And what is that?
protocols.
What is that protocol? That
We
you
have
did?
to get pedals for the sinks so that you don't have to touch the sinks when you're going to wash your hands. We have to put plexiglass put up in certain parts of the restaurant. We have to move a bunch
Divisions
of,
in the
we have
entrances
to move a
between
bunch of
entrance
furniture.
and
We have
exit.
to have an exorbitant amount of like hand sanitizer and alcohol.
Paint the
We have
walls.
to buy like face masks for everybody.
Paint the walls.
We have to
with-
seal every part of the restaurant
Sealant.
that has a porous surface.
Ooh.
We have to.
Carmen's all brick, by the way.
We have to invest in
brick.
a bunch of
I
technology
don't understand all
to
this.
be able
I'm
to.
no doctor, but
when you sit down at the
what do you need all that
table, we're not going to hand you a menu. Everything is QR code.
But wait, who mandated
Everything
that you
is-
had to do this? Like, why did you guys do that?
Well, we actually did something very early on, which was something that Rob found. And it was a restaurant group in Hong Kong called the Black Sheep.
Okay.
And Rob found that really early on. He's like, Carmen, take this and run with it. So we had designed our protocols really early on. Based on that, we did all of our protocols, and that's what we entregamos. That's what we
turned in?
Yeah,
That's what we
what
turned in, and
that's
then
what we turned into
the government came, or the
to
city
the
government,
local
came
government.
back.
It was all approved. We weren't sitting here waiting to see like, okay, well, what's Medellin going to tell us to do? We based it on
What
a
other people? did?
continent
We based
that
it
had
on
already
Asia, man.
gone through
They're-
COVID. They had
Right.
already been through it.
Black Sheep is a restaurant group in Hong Kong that has over 25 restaurants. Carmen and I were fortunate to eat in a couple of them when we were in Hong Kong. And one day I found an article like linking to their COVID playbook. Like they published everything they did for COVID. And obviously they're fucking 4 months ahead of us, man.
Yeah.
So why the fuck are we not gonna look at them? And this is like
They're
way
4 months
this is
ahead of
way
us.
before Spain. This is way before France. This
Right.
is way before the United States. So we were looking at this like immediately,
And then we
looking at this
see-
playbook going, shit,
And then we
these
see
are the
that-
things we have to do.
And then we see what Medellin is recommending, and we see it's based on Spain and based
Yeah,
on
yeah.
France
Yeah.
and based on the U.S. When
Yeah,
the
yeah.
U.S. is like
Not doing anything right.
not doing anything. So we felt that we had kind of done the right thing, and we're waiting.
But wait, and
We've
you guys,
been
but
waiting
you
around.
put these protocols in place without, and you didn't do it because they said, hey, you have to put protocols.
No,
in
we
place.
did
You
it
guys
because
went
we
ahead.
said we did it. We
You had the
needed to do
vision,
it.
so you did it, and
Yeah.
you turned this into, you like
Medellin
okay,
me cuida.
saying
We-
that you have protocols in place to keep on.
And
doing
they
business.
approved.
They were
They approved
approved the
it
next
within
day.
2 days.
Okay.
Because we were very thorough with everything. It was approved the next day. And since then, we've just been kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. So when you start seeing different economic sectors like hair salons and movie theaters and gyms
That are
start
supposed to
opening,
open before
but
you.
the restaurants aren't going to open. You start
Doesn't make
wondering.
So that
okay,
came
well,
out today, though, right? That came
Yes.
out today. So
Yes. And
what is the timeline on this?
So basically, we were very united as an industry and said, you know, we're not going to take any more of this crap. And
Everybody
we're either
published
gonna
yesterday
you're
on
either going to
Instagram.
let us open or we're going to open.
Yeah, you guys set fire to Instagram at least yesterday.
We-
Felipe sent me a bunch.
Yeah,
of
I saw
Everybody,
all over.
at the whole,
On the 26th.
all of Medellin,
We
all
pressured.
the restaurants
All
in
of
Medellin.
Medellin got together and we pressured as a group, as an industry, as a gremio, and we said we're not going to take this anymore. You know, you can't.
And what's the government's response?
Well, this
Well,
morning
he said we're gonna.
the mayor came out saying that all of the gastronomic sector is going to open on the 31st.
Oh, so you guys aren't going.
Wait,
what?
on the 31st.
Yeah, we're not. He didn't. He
On the
didn't give it. He
31st.
didn't give us our date of the 27th, but he gave us.
So
a
you
date.
guys gonna back down and wait for the 31st? Or
We're
you
gonna
still
wait
do
till
that?
We're gonna wait for the
That's
31st
fine.
because it's like it's
just a couple
it's
days.
4 days. I mean, it's fine, but if he goes back on his word,
Then
the
it's
whole
gonna be serious problem.
Everybody-
no, the whole Gremio said,
We're gonna
"Fuck
open.
it, we're
Fuck it,
opening
we're
on the
opening.
31st."
So, but obviously, opening on the 31st means that you have to adhere to certain protocol.
And we've known
We've
that we
had 'em
had to
already.
adhere to those protocols
For
2.5
months, man.
ago.
Okay.
So what does that mean for you though? Like you open on the 31st. What does business day one look like for you? What
We're
are you
lower
talking about?
capacity. We're about
50%
50 to
capacity.
60%
We cannot
lower
sell
capacity.
alcohol, which is about 40% of our
Of your
sales.
yeah.
which is
Which is
You
huge.
can't sell out. What does alcohol have to
do with COVID. That's
It
a
does.
really good question.
It does have to do with
I thought it
We're
sterilizes.
taking a
alcohol lowers your inhibitions. And if you show up wearing a mask and you're being all like, we got a social distance, and then you get a few drinks in you, and then
Yeah.
you get a
And
few
you're taking
more,
the mask off.
you know, the next thing you know, you take your mask off, you're making out
You're
on the
licking-
corner.
You can't eat with a
Licking
mask.
the booty
Hey,
hole.
cigarette.
How are you
exactly.
gonna eat with a mask?
Our restaurant is not a bar. Our
Yeah, I
restaurant
mean-
is our bar. Our tables are spaced
But
2 meters apart.
exactly.
You come in with your face mask. You're gonna have to take it off.
You have to.
You're encouraged to wear it when you're not eating or drinking.
Yeah.
But that's impossible, man. I mean, come on.
Nobody's gonna do that.
You're gonna be, but you're not anywhere close enough to anybody to contract anything. Our waiters are gonna wear masks. They're gonna have face shields,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. The chance of COVID, a dish being contaminated with COVID in a kitchen, is nil. Is almost nil because COVID is a lipid. Is surrounded by a lipid, man. I mean, it melts when it hits heat, and it dies. I mean, we're talking about like.
I mean, restaurants that are like serving ceviche, maybe, but
Yeah.
it is scientifically proven, and it has been scientifically proven for like the past 3 months that the possibility of you getting COVID from prepared foods is slim to none. Precisely because what Rob is saying about the temperature.
But they let barbershops open, which to me doesn't make much sense. I sit in
Hey
my
man,
barber
we
chair,
all
I'm
need
like,
I'm
our
like
shit.
touching
We all
your
need our
face.
shit
yeah,
done,
like,
man.
yeah, and they do a little extra touch here, a little bit like I'm like, are we supposed? I mean, what
It's
you were
very
saying doesn't make
frustrating.
sense. It
well,
doesn't
your
make any
beard
sense.
does look marvelous.
Life is very frustrating right now. In
No,
Colombia.
we've lived frustration.
It's-
I
It
agree.
looks
I mean,
amazing.
those of you guys-
I live with a bearded guy. Your
Yeah.
beard looks great.
For
Thank you.
for
I'm gonna
those of
lift
you
you up.
guys watching the recorded vision 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because it's
Yeah.
gonna live on fucking YouTube. This is what we're going through right now. It's a very frustrating time.
Yeah.
We're talking to 2 entrepreneurs that own restaurants here that had 150 plus staff that many
Or
had to
minus.
be let go. Many had to be degraded in their what
Wages.
They, in their
All,
wages.
all.
Their families affected, lives affected, business affected. So now we've got this decree that says that okay, we may be opening on the 31st because now anytime I hear something from the government, it's like
Bullshit.
okay, it's
It's-
maybe, it's a
Oh,
maybe.
but we are opening.
But they're opening. So
And
how
it's
excited?
been very problematic, Andrew, particularly in Medellin, because we've been working on the protocols for bioseguridad for the last 2 months. You know, there are
3
leaders in
months
our
now.
industry that have been working on this for months now, and it's like, well, what's going on? It doesn't take that long to have it approved
Right.
by the national
on a
government.
national level.
So now we're kind of at a point where, like, you know what? this needs to happen, and it does. It needs to happen. We need to understand, and I'm not just talking about restaurants, I'm talking about in general. We need to understand as a culture and as a population that we have to live with COVID.
We have to
need to
learn
be
to live with it.
responsible for ourselves and for those people around us, but we have to, life has to go on, or else we're all just gonna, death is gonna happen.
Yeah. So how excited are you guys about opening on the 31st?
Yeah, excited and scared. Like scared because we have so much to do to get our restaurants open
Yeah.
that have been like shut down
Rob's
for
gotta
like
make a new
5
CD.
months. Yeah.
Rob's got to make a new
Rob's gotta make some
mixtape.
new
16
mixtapes.
tracks.
I gotta make a new mix. I gotta
Yes.
make COVID mix.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, you
We're-
COVID mix.
we're prepared, but it's also the economic ramification of complying with the biosecurity measures is extensive for all
Yeah.
restaurants, man.
and
we're-
expensive. Let's say that
I
we
said economically extensive.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
talking.
cool.
We're not talking about a small amount of money, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
not at all. We
it's
have
a-
to make a huge investment to be able to open our doors and to be able to open our doors for 45% of our capacity. And then on top of that 45% of our capacity,
We can't
lose
sell alcohol.
40% of
Can I
sales
drop
with
some?
alcohol.
Can I drop some irony on y'all?
Yeah, okay.
So you guys can't serve alcohol, but you gotta buy it. Sorry. Just gonna take that away.
Yeah,
You
the
can't
hand
serve
sanitizer.
alcohol,
The hand sanitizer.
but you gotta buy a shit
You
ton
gotta
of
buy
it.
a shit ton of it.
Let's sing for a little bit.
That's fucked up.
That's
You
some
can't
fucked up
sell
shit.
it, but you gotta buy
You
it.
gotta buy it. You're being forced to buy alcohol, and they said no
You gotta
selling
figure
alcohol.
out-
It's a different format,
Even the
but
flaw is selling alcohol now.
Imagine
Do you
that.
guys know that alcohol sales are up 30%?
Yep.
I know,
It
I've
was
been
33%
consuming
in the first
30%
month in the
more.
US.
You and me both, brother. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
That's no
Yeah.
joke.
Cheers. That this was all about alcohol. That's
Yeah.
what this
So, all right. So
I have
the
done
new
my
normal,
part.
we kind of know just based on experience from other countries what kind of the new normal is. I know in California, I've got all my family in California. They have moved to like the street, shutting down streets, putting tables out in the street because capacity that has been lowered to 50% indoors. So like, fuck, let's shut the street down and put tables outside. Do you think that's a possibility where you guys are at?
No.
Why not?
We don't have those options.
You
because
got
we
that
don't-
little hill in front of your restaurant. People tumble down.
But I could see that street.
No,
being
we're gonna
shut
bounce
down.
it. We're gonna bounce it out in
Which
front
hill?
of. We're
You
gonna
got that
bounce.
little thing that goes down.
No,
like that, don't
that's
you?
not gonna
Right in
work.
front, you're not flat. You're not flat in front
Well,
of
it's
the
not
restaurant.
flat, but I mean, like, you call that a hill?
I mean,
No,
like,
but
how's
I'm
the table
talking
gonna
about
sit?
The
I'm not
incline,
talking
no.
about calle or
We're gonna
no,
bounce.
calle-
We're gonna
calle
bounce a few.
37.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Just
bounce.
shutting it down.
We're gonna
Put
bounce a couple tables out in
a
front.
tent out there. That's what people have been doing in California. Put a tent outside literally on the street.
That's the culture of here.
I don't
though.
think there's enough restaurants to do it on our
on your
cottage.
street. True,
So
true.
I mean,
Not only that, but they just did that whole, like, change of
Glorieta and all that.
how
Oh,
all
yeah,
the
yeah,
traffic
yeah,
flows.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
So
like
it's
a
all
main-
coming down
It
from
flows
Las
through
Palmas
there.
now.
Yeah.
It flows through there.
Holy
Maybe
shit.
it'll happen through all of Parque
There's
Dina.
one-way traffic passing your restaurant instead of two right now.
You know, I think the
No,
next
you could
phase.
set up out here.
I think the next phase, you guys, is just really kind of like playing everything out, seeing how it goes, being really safe and
Being more patient.
And positive.
being patient and positive and like really understanding that we need to be like very strict with our
Protocols.
protocols.
Yeah.
And we are.
But also just kind of understanding that really worldwide, until we have a vaccine,
Yeah.
this is just going to be life until there's a vaccine.
Yeah.
And
It's
even
what,
when
it's
there
what
is
Carmen
a
said.
vaccine,
It's learning to live with it and learning how to go out with it and how to
Yep.
function in society with it,
like
etc.
I mean, there's concerts going on in Europe right now, and there's like little there's like little like spaces that are separated,
I
and
saw
you
that.
can only go
Yeah.
with up to 6 to 8 people per little
like
space.
little boxing rings.
Yeah, and so it's like, hey, concerts don't have to end. We just have to change
Adapt.
the way that we do concerts right
For a
now
while,
and
for a
adapt
while.
until there's a vaccine. And it's the same with restaurants, and it's the same with bars, and it's the same with everything.
Dang, how am I going to do my reggaeton grinding though?
But life has to go on.
That's
man.
gonna be,
Gotta put like
A
a.
plastic in front of you?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sick.
So,
though, squeaking.
Bubble
Question.
suit, bubble suit.
Bubbles. Yeah, so when do you guys think, and I'm asking you guys collectively here, things will get back to semi-normal where we won't be fucking dealing with social distance do you think it'll be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? I mean, barring that we don't know when the vaccine's going to come.
I think it has a lot to do with that, Andrew. It has a lot to do with the vaccine.
It's also
And it has a lot to do with the
distribution of the
clinical,
vaccine.
the distribution and the clinical trials of the
Okay,
vaccine.
so
Because nobody wants to take a vaccine that's like, oh, we tested it on some people for like a month.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't want to take it.
No. I mean, the Russian
I
vaccine,
ain't
like,
taking no
Shit.
who
vaccine.
the
Russian
fuck wants to
vaccine.
take that shit?
Take
the
that
fuck
shit
is
right
that?
now,
I'm
man.
Taking no Russian. You guys are
Crocodile.
part Eastern European. You guys crocodile.
I'd rather sleep with a hooker first
Yeah.
that had COVID.
Crocodile.
No, but I asked that
I took it to a new
because
level, sorry.
I like it.
one of the questions that I had and somebody else asked on the chat is like, what would be something that you guys would a suggestion or tips for somebody that wants to come down here and start a business, a restaurant in Colombia? And we're not talking about in
Wait
COVID.
till the vaccine.
Well, how you gonna say
okay.
don't do it?
Let's say that the vaccine came or like herd immunity and things are getting back to normal. We're talking maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now. My personal guess is 5 years, like
Yeah.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
3 to 5.
But let's say
I
someone
was going
in
to say
the future-
2023, but
I'm a traveler from the future, so I know. And the question is, what would you suggest? Should they come down here and start the business?
for an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
study the fucking Colombian labor laws first and
Labor
foremost.
laws. Big
First
time.
and foremost. Study your
Yeah.
Colombian
Not
labor
back-
laws.
Not like
That
that.
is
Because-
not
Because
very
it is
sexy.
not, it is
Not
not,
sexy.
it is not what you think it is. Believe me.
Yeah. So you come down here for a bachelor party and you're like, damn, they don't got Philly cheesesteaks out here. I'm going to put my Philly cheesesteak stand out here and it's going to make a killing.
No.
Study the labor law first.
Study all sorts of laws and
All sorts
yeah.
of laws, but start with labor and
Yeah.
then start with everything else. But
Well,
I mean,
I
it's
also
like,
think something that Rob and I have learned from this experience is, you know, we have a restaurant, Carmen was 50-50. So it was 50% tourism and
50%.
foreigners and 50% locals. And then you take a restaurant like Moshi, which was really only like 18% tourism and
not even.
about 82% locals.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
a good mix, though.
Yeah, that's great though.
So,
11.
but in Carmen, I think what we've really realized is to cherish and like really appreciate a little bit more that local clientele. And so anybody that's coming, looking to come down here and open something, I would say come, live down here for a few months first.
Understand where
And
you
understand where you're going to open your business and what the local market is like. And yeah, there are a lot of expats, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of tourism like there was before. But understand a little bit the local market, because without understanding that local market,
You're dead.
you're dead.
are. We had the benefit of understanding the local market from day one
Yeah.
because that's all we had.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
we got ahead of the curve with that specific equation.
And
I
we love the
suppose.
local market. As challenging as it was, it's what today has allowed us to survive.
to survive.
And we are here surviving, and we're here even though we're making the minimum wage, and even though we had to cut a bunch of our staff, very painfully so, and even though all of our staff right now is making that minimum wage just like we are, we're alive.
And
And
there-
we have the possibility to continue growing. And that's because we've been able to stay alive with our local market. And that's with the expats that form part of our local market, and also the locals that are the paisas that have like believed in us and allowed us to be able to say like, hey, you know, we're gonna fucking get out of
No,
this
and
shit.
still believe in us, and with the dedication of our family, man, the Carmen family. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Everybody's 100% dedicated into like, hey, I want to have the job I had.
That's the part
I
of, but that's your
want
business
to push
culture,
it
right?
forward,
Yeah,
man.
it is our
That's
business
part of your
culture.
business culture, because a lot of people aren't like that, right? A lot of people got fucked from day one, you know? They're like, yeah, we're shutting down, or like whatever it is. You guys have obviously developed a business culture that your chefs, wait staff, and everybody has grown to know.
And we
And
thank Diego for that. He is instrumental in helping Carmen and I grow into leaders and to help disseminate that business culture into what we have today. He's definitely the seed of that.
So I got a question about, just a quick question. What happens, let's play the scenario out. They're opening on the 30th or 31st apparently, right? So you give them their 4-day grace. You guys have backed down. The revolution will not continue, will not be televised for another 4 days because it's going to open up. What happens if,
The
like they do with
revolution.
everything else, it's a revolution, right? You
No,
a bunch
if
of
they
people
come
joining
back-
together, and they come back and they're like,
Black
we're not
Lives
open up. Black Lives Matter. And so there you just got to make sure. But what do you do?
Restaurants
What do you guys,
matter.
what would the restaurants do?
Everybody opens. We've already decided.
But then what do you think the government will do to that?
We don't care.
You guys ready to go to war?
We
It doesn't
don't
matter.
give a fuck.
We
Doesn't
don't care.
matter. Yo, I'll be there.
We don't care, man.
I'll be right there at
We're
Carmen.
we're
I like that.
we're as a gremio in Medellin, or as a group, as all of the restaurateurs that are involved in everything. Everybody is done.
Yeah.
We say, when you say you're gonna open gyms before restaurants,
Yeah, it's fucked up.
well, you're
That
gonna
is
open
fucked up.
you're gonna open movie theaters at 50% capacity before you're gonna open
Which is
restaurants.
an enclosed
People need their
area.
movies.
And we have, bro. I need my movie,
It doesn't
but
make
we have
sense, bro.
we have
Doesn't
control
make sense.
of
I know.
distancing, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Cool.
So I am from the future, Andrew Macia from the Colombia podcast, and I know after meeting these people and talking to them, I know that they're going to make it. It's inevitable. Their attitude, their
Yeah.
culture, their mindset
100%.
is right there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You don't meet people like this every day,
Nope.
and I'm very grateful for you guys for being here.
Yeah.
I thought
Oh,
it was
thanks
amazing.
for having us, man.
I think we got to go to your house and have one of those white wedding parties.
Yeah. Celebrate a wedding. Or a
A
birth or
white
whatever.
anniversary party.
You're getting married, right?
Yeah,
Joel's
of
getting
course.
married. Yeah.
To my white teeth, that's about it.
Yeah, he's got no.
Yeah.
How can you get married when you got no girlfriend and no prospects?
He is in Colombia.
But
Oh,
we
just
are in
gotta-
Colombia. That could happen
Got to throw
tomorrow.
that out onto Front Street.
But anyway, I know that you guys are going to make it, and it's inevitable that Colombia is going to continue, and the world is going to continue. People are going to die. People are going to live. So moving forward, what is your plan after COVID? After all of this is open, the 31st is open, everything's open. Do you guys plan on opening up new restaurants? Are you just gonna keep what you have? Do you guys have a long-term plan? And I'm gonna ask because I think I know his answer. Well, I don't know. He knows his answer, but I'm gonna ask Carmen first.
Carmen closed her eyes and inhaled very deeply
Yeah.
and nearly.
What is the future
let me,
of Carmen?
Let me do my answer real fast.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Rob,
do you.
Rob,
I'm
what is
gonna
the
I'm gonna
future
do
of
my
Carmen?
answer real fast.
So you're gonna open Rob.
No.
on Carrera.
No.
Who wants to
ribs.
go to a restaurant?
No.
and rob?
I know.
If it was called Rob's Ribs, then I'd be like,
Yeah, that's true.
you're vegan. That's
Frijoles,
Yeah.
frijoles are vertical.
I'm vegan.
Are you vegan?
I can,
I'm
we
on
do
vegan.
really good
Really?
vegan food. I'm doing a vegan tasting for 9 people tomorrow night.
Dang.
Dang, you
11
know,
courses.
The biggest eater in the world over here is the biggest eater in the
Yeah,
world.
pretty big, dude.
I have very few words to say on that,
Okay.
and I'm gonna just put it in a synopsis, and then I'm gonna let Carmen
Okay.
Go hard,
Go
go
hard.
hard, go raw like sushi.
fast is slow, slow is fast. To quote my father-in-law, and that's it. That's our
One more
business.
time. I missed that. Even.
Fast is slow, slow is fast, and that's our business model, and that's what we're gonna keep doing, and that's how we're gonna approach the pandemic.
Very nice.
Fast is slow, slow is fast.
That's a
All right.
great quote, man. I like that.
Carmen, you're not.
All right,
you're
Carmen.
not gonna let that just slide. Like, what else you got? What you gonna add to that? Slow as
What's
fast
the
as
future
fast
of Carmen, Carmen?
The future of Carmen is exactly what Rob said. I would have said the same thing.
Wow, that's the first time we were going at this for a while. That's the first time
Look.
you guys. Okay, good. I like that.
And I think that
I didn't
nothing
get it backhand.
nothing is in this moment. We're not about making decisions or projecting the future. We have to just be patient. We have to see what happens. We have to see
survive.
what's going to unfold.
Yeah.
We're in survival mode still. Just because we're going to be able to open on Monday does not mean that
Does
everything
not
is
guarantee
fixed.
anything.
Doesn't mean
We
people
are-
might come. They might still be
No,
scared.
and we're totally in survival mode. We
Yeah.
don't know if we're going to be able to break even still. We don't know if we're going to be able to meet our to be able to pay our rent, if we're going to be able to keep our staff. Nothing, everything is unknown.
We will
You
keep
know,
our staff no matter what.
but the future is unknown. And when the future is unknown, you proceed patiently and with caution.
Day by
Fast
day.
is slow, slow is fast. And we're not making any plans. Our number one plan is to be able to consolidate, to be able to get to break even again, to be able to keep as many people on as possible, and to be able to start hiring back,
And to start growing our family again.
and to be able to get to some kind of version of normalcy. Yeah.
If someone wants to find you guys online, where can they find you?
Yeah. So we are carmenrestaurante.co, where you can find all of the restaurants. And on Instagram, we're at moshi.colombia, at Don Diablo Steakhouse, and at Carmen Restaurante with an E at the end. And
Sushi Bar.
hashtag Sushi Bar.
Hashtag Sushi Bar. The
Bye,
Sushi
Carmen.
Bar by Carmen.
Yeah. 8 seats.
No, and I mean, really just invite everybody that's watching, and thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to us and our story and our struggles.
No, and big shout out to Familia Carmen. man.
Yeah, a big shout out to
Big shout
everybody that's been
Big shout out to
getting
Familia
us
Carmen,
through all
because
this,
without
'cause
this,
it's a team
we're
effort.
nothing. It's
And yeah, when we do open on Monday, the people that are watching and
are here in Medellin.
are here in Medellin, come visit us. I mean, we're
Yeah,
going to be doing
please.
everything very, very safely, and
I'll be there
we
next
really,
week.
But you're gonna still have fun.
yeah. But
And
you're
you'll
still
have
gonna have fun. You may have to have like a table 2 meters away from you, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
we are just
We'll be
looking
fine.
forward to be able to open again. Our business is customer service, and we miss that. We miss
We
having
miss
people in our
customer service.
restaurants, and we miss being able to
Interaction.
talk with our clients and be able to cook for people that enjoy what we're cooking for them. And that's why we're in this, and we love what we do.
We should do a little giveaway
So-
on our part. We should be like, whoever the hell is fucked up enough to want to do this.
Do you
but
wanna- do
we
you
take
wanna-
2 people with us to go dine next week when the restaurants are open at Carmen, and we're gonna figure out how we're gonna do this.
They
but
have
we're
to be
gonna do it.
female. So that.
Why?
Yeah, I don't get good see.
Yeah. Why?
Why,
All
Rob?
right. Before we close off, we'd
Before we
like
get
to
it back in.
we'd like to give Rob and Carmen a little
Here's
gift.
all little, the pink sticker
A
has
little
Aw.
gift.
Pink
Look,
stickers
we got
on
the
you guys.
Columbia podcast little logo on
There's
there.
a little chiviado thing
bag
going on.
there for you. Go
Thanks,
ahead.
guys.
One of them has a pink
Thank
sticker.
you. Oh, it's a shirt! Yay!
Awesome.
You get the
So now you can
Well-
be like us. Now we can
Podcast.
really celebrate Kobe's.
Kobe's.
Why don't
Yeah,
we do
baby.
why don't we do like raffle off, like you guys decide how you want to do it, but we can do like one for Moshi and one for Don Diablo, and just say like, hey, we've got like a 100,000 peso bono,
From our part.
and like from the
our part.
restaurant, just
And
be
then
like, come
we'll-
to the
We
restaurant.
can match that.
We'll match it.
We'll match it.
Perfect.
That'll be
Yeah,
200,000.
however you guys want to do
Perfect.
it.
So everybody
Okay.
can get good and.
We'll do it on.
You know,
we'll
like
do it
maybe
on
like
Instagram.
answer a question or however you guys want to do it,
Yeah.
Answer a
but we
question.
would just love for the
What kind of
community-
wedding did they have?
Oh,
That's the trivia question.
Can we not have it be that?
Yeah.
So I want to thank you guys personally. Thank you for being on the podcast. The reason why
Thanks, you guys.
we did this podcast because we love Colombia and we love Medellin where we live.
We do
We
too.
want people to know where we're at, and this is a prime example of entrepreneurship, the Paisa spirit, because
Yeah.
it's really Paisa spirit. Thank you guys for watching.
I do
Yeah.
love Texas.
The Paisa spirit.
Paisa spirit.
Thank you guys for
Right.
watching. Make sure to follow them, follow us. Hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Facebook. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching.
Ciao.
Yeah. Great podcast. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, guys.
If you want to see Andrew in a skinny leopard print thong, please be sure to follow us and listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, or any other major podcast platforms. And Andrew, if they want to see our ugly faces, what should they do?
They could see us on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube for show.